Jackson will hand it to Drake. He's got a crease. He's to the one. He's to the goal line. Touchdown, Ravens. Kenyon Drake.
To college basketball, it tipped off yesterday across the country. Number 11 Tennessee defeated Texas Tech 75-43. Memphis a 76-67 win over Vanderbilt, and Belmont won on the road. Belmont defeated Ohio 70-69. Cade Tyson made a three-pointer at the buzzer for the win. Raleigh Foundation Repair and Waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your own for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Tuesday edition of the show on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, as the preseason AFC South favorites have a television host for a head coach for the rest of 2022. We talk Vols and Dogs and take a look at the best and the worst in the NFL, and that includes a whole lot of the AFC South. Alongside 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer, making the show happen.
The best producer in the world!
My name is Will Bowling. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Will.
How are we?
That's how we open up the show today?
You do here?
With the head coaching situation? How much experience does he have, Will?
Well, I mean, as a track runner, I have a lot of experience running laps, especially victory laps. So we're going to take a couple of those today.
The real question is, do I have head coaching experience?
Well, I mean, does it matter anymore?
No, that's not the question. We know you don't have head coaching experience. The question is, would you accept an interim head coaching gig if you were offered?
Is the pay at the for right?
Okay. What you do at ESPN, which Jeff Saturday, we all know he's a good
we
analyst.
were just bragging on him.
But I mean, you're not doing a ton, right? You're prepping, you're doing that kind of stuff. You're getting paid a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's getting paid a good amount of money, but that's a lot of stuff on your shoulders. That's a lot of crap to deal with. But that's Ursay's boy.
Yeah, he got a little salt and pepper in his hair and beard right now.
He can have a lot, Gray.
Yeah, okay, like. Hey, how much experience is needed?
A lot more than what he has.
Well,
lot more than what
you don't need experience when you're tanking for a franchise quarterback.
That's right. That's right.
This like 3 times in the last era that they've had, like every era they've tanked for a guy was Peyton the tank.
I don't remember. That
was a long time ago.
Okay, all right, well, never mind.
They definitely sucked for luck.
They
That was
sucked
for
for
sure.
luck, and this is a third one coming around right now.
Yeah, when Peyton got hurt, they did not make a corresponding move to try to win that season. Not great.
Again, how much experience do I need, Will? Because if they call me for a head coaching job, look, the way Jeff got rolled over yesterday in the press conference, look, somebody got to start taking control of the media side that the Titans have. I need to figure this out myself, okay? How much you think he's getting for just being a head coach, right? Is it a favor? Is it a job? Is it – what is it?
Well, Jim Irsay said once he was introduced that he basically invoked Tony Dungy and Peyton Manning and said, he's going to be the interim for this year and hopefully longer than that.
Well, isn't Reggie Wayne on the staff? He's the wide receivers coach. You'd think that there'd be other guys that have maybe the experience within the organization right now that are coaching right now that could have maybe been that interim. But I simply think it just comes down to those guys are so close, or saying Jeff Saturday.
Well, they have 2 there on the staff. Gus Bradley, who, yes, it was with Jacksonville, and he was terrible at Jacksonville, but Jacksonville's terrible.
Yeah.
And John Fox was a defensive assistant, similar to what Jim Schwartz has been with the Titans, who went to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But, I mean, even just having a guy that's on the staff that's a coach of some sort.
Kevin Mawai is on this staff
is he?
also. Yeah, Mawai is. Scotty Montgomery. Mike Mitchell's on this roster, too.
Your ex-teammate.
Isn't that weird? There's a lot of names that you wouldn't even thought.
Reggie Wayne is a coach on this staff. They have Richard Smith. He's been 44 years in this league too. Chris Strausser, 34 years in this league. There's a few guys around that. Nate Ollie, I feel like he was a former player, defensive line coach.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It is about relationships with him. I see this now. A lot of these people have had relationships with him. This is very interesting. I didn't know Mawai was on this staff.
So the Colts grabbed their 47-year-old, 6-time Pro Bowl center who played 13 seasons for the Colts. He's been an ESPN analyst. He was also the head coach of, I'm going to botch this name, Hebron Christian Academy in Tacoola, Georgia for 3 seasons.
Okay.
So if you want to go be a high school coach in the area, Ramon, we'll call you in 3 seasons. Or somebody will call you in 3 seasons. We probably won't.
Go to one of these private schools.
There you go.
Figure
easy,
it out then.
Easy.
I'm just saying.
Where was that? Georgia?
Yes. Tacoola, Georgia.
Tacoola.
On Sunday, the Colts failed to convert any of their 14 third down attempts. That is tied for the worst single mark in the NFL in the last 30 years. They had 121 yards of total offense, which is the team's lowest output since 1997, and that was the lowest of any of Frank Reich's teams by 84 yards. And when you're an offensive head coach, kind of hard to put up those kind of numbers.
Yeah. That sucks, but this team seemed like it's been on a downward spiral for what? Since they lost to the Titans the second time around? Well, even before then.
Yeah.
They were just bad. Still don't understand how they beat the Chiefs.
The Jacksonville loss for the Colts.
That did it?
That's when everything went insane.
Was that still
all
at least beat Denver after that?
All they had to do was win last year against Jacksonville to get into the playoffs, and they lost. And I think that's when everything completely went out of control.
And that was so early when they lost to the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are always due for like a letdown game or two.
Yeah,
too.
they are. Did the NFL set the Colts up, though? Not in the sense of like setting them up, but the way that schedule computed and worked itself out, like to have your biggest rival in the division done by week 6 or 7, like
they did it last year too.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. Like at that point, like what are they even fighting for? But as a player,
that is defeating.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have no shot. They really have no shot. They can't even say we can go win the division. Heck, the Jags have a better chance of saying, "Oh, we can go win the division," than they do at this point.
Colts started 1-5 in 2018, finished 10-6, and made the playoffs. Last year, they started 1-4 before rallying to 9-6, and then they lost their 2 final regular season games against Vegas and against Jacksonville last season, and that was a wrap. So, Frank Reich out, Jeff Saturday in Indy. Today we recap the NFL weekend by taking a look at the top 7 and the bottom 3 coming up in a couple of minutes. And we give Ramon Foster a chance to vent or commiserate or whatever you would like to do about the Tennessee Volunteers' performance in Athens on Saturday. Because we got to talk about that today.
Reality check, Will.
Eric Cain of VolQuest will join us at 8:20. Ron Slay at 9:20. And we will take a look at what the rankings should look like tonight, because it's certainly a much cloudier view of the top 6, I think, going into tonight's second college football playoff rankings than it was last week.
Oh, yeah, definitely. TCU, though, earned it, waited their opportunity. Now they're in it, man.
Did they?
Earned it, waited. Okay.
They did
undefeated.
First, yes, they're undefeated. Clemson did not deserve to be at number 4. Okay?
That's correct.
Give me a break.
That is
and
correct.
then they went and got embarrassed by Notre Dame.
Clemson got exposed.
All right, committee, you really know what you're doing.
I can't wait. I hear it. Do we got beef here? AP versus CFP?
That's right.
Okay. I recognize the beef when I hear it, Kayla, and I hear it today. I need you to get that off of your chest today. I need to hear that. I need to hear that.
I'll be venting a little.
I mean, TCU just continues to play backup quarterbacks and have a double-digit deficit in half their games. And they come back and win handily. But
I didn't think y'all would have these takes on TCU today.
They were a little teetering on the edge of about, like, they could fall off at any point in terms of winning games. I see these games, I'm like, okay, they could definitely lose this one. Like, they're not that team where you feel confident at putting them at number 4, but I think they will be.
Okay.
It could be Michigan, though.
Michigan at 4?
We'll get to it later in the show. I think if a one-loss Alabama is ahead of TCU, a one-loss Tennessee has to be ahead of TCU. Has to.
I'm going to just take my orange tinted
sense.
glasses off this week. I'm going to be cool.
It doesn't make sense for those standards to change 1 week later. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Also, TCU is a touchdown underdog this weekend against Texas.
They are.
At Austin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ooh.
A touchdown underdog.
Again.
So that tells you the faith that Vegas has in TCU. Granted, Tennessee was more than a touchdown underdog last week, but they were in Georgia. That's a heck of a lot of different trip than going to Austin.
Frog.
Go Frogs. That's what Max said.
He goes, frog.
Frog. Realize.
It's the greatest thing ever.
really
That's the best, too, just standing at training camp, and there will be like a practice squad guy from TCU who is there in any capacity.
Yeah.
And he'll just be like, hey, Will, you know who that guy is? And I'm like, no, coach, who is that? He just goes, frog.
Frog.
I don't really.
He won't even tell me who. I'm like, okay, so who is it? And they'll be like, okay, well, it's
Don't
this
matter.
linebacker, whoever. He's like, no, frog. That's all that matters.
By the way, the AP has Tennessee at 5 too.
Yep.
I voted Tennessee at 4.
Did you? Mm-hmm. Okay,
I did.
You're a real one though, Kayla. I've been knowing this though. This isn't anything new. So is Bama? Where are we at with them?
Well,
the fans were a little off yesterday.
Done. People took a tweet I sent out of context also when I said I'd like to see a rematch between Tennessee and Georgia just to see how close Tennessee is based on how poorly they played, which is not implying that Tennessee would win the rematch. I would just like to see how close they can get to Georgia without beating themselves as badly as they did. And all of these Alabama fans were like, well, that's what we said after the Tennessee game. I was like, yeah, you should. That's kind of how fandom works, buddy.
Did you hear what Paul Feinbaum said about Saban? Like the cracks are starting to show and pretty much hinted at like this is like the start of the end.
What's that noise you just made, Lord?
And then I know it's like Darth Vader.
Because it is.
And then Lane Kiffin got on there because they're playing this week.
Yeah.
And he was like, stupid Paul Feinbaum had to sit there and say all this stuff because, it lights fires under Saban's behind. But Lane was all PO'd about Paul saying that.
Poor Lane being pissed off. Poor guy.
It was
rat
so
poison.
funny.
It's rat poison on both sides.
He called it goat something.
Goat poison?
Goat juice.
Goat
Oh,
juice. Oh,
something.
my. Okay, we're good.
Like when that kind of stuff happens, it lights a fire
You
under.
got to go to another country for that or what?
Probably. Or a farm.
Goat milk.
Maybe Ben Jones would have
Sitting
some
on a farm.
advice.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm here for it.
Where does a goat live, Ramon? On a farm.
On a farm.
Ben Jones grew up on a farm.
Or at a zoo.
The fired coach farm is in Tuscaloosa, so maybe it's there.
I saw some goats this weekend, actually.
You did? I did baby goat yoga.
You what? Oh, you did baby goat yoga? Where they get on your back and stuff? Get out of here.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this last week.
Here in the city?
Yeah, a little bit outside, frankly.
You know where you live? All the people, there's stuff like that everywhere in Nashville.
They probably have.
I figured out why fainting goats faint also.
Okay,
Did y'all
what?
not? They're Tennessee fainting goats. Shout out to my guy Dusty. Told me this weekend.
They faint?
Fainting goats. You ever seen people on the videos yell at a goat and they just turn over like they fall over?
I've kind of seen one of those things before.
It was for the protection of the sheep. They put goats with sheep, and when the coyotes or whatever would come up to try to take a sheep, they would scare the goats. The goats pretty much were sacrifices.
And this has been Animal Facts with Ramon Foster.
That's incredible.
615-737-1045
No.
is the number this morning. When we come back, the top 7 and bottom 3 in the National Football League. We take a look at the best and worst in the NFL. 4 fast hours on deck on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 104.5 The Zone.
Genesis Diamond's biggest and last store-wide sale of the year is coming. November 18th, 19th, and 20th. Next Friday through Sunday. It's an extraordinary event with savings of 20, 25, up to 35% store-wide. This is the event people will wait all year for. Rings, earrings, pendants, bands, bracelets. Nothing is held back for this once-a-year 3-day sale. Acclaimed designers from New York and California will be flying in with expanded collections and special pricing. Check out all the new collections, the latest styles in both fashion and bridal jewelry. Somebody's getting married soon, maybe. Won't name any names. Plus, get 0% interest financing so you can spread out your payments. Don't miss this year's best jewelry event. And yes, Genesis luxury pre-owned Rolexes are also included. Check out their hard-to-find Rolex models and get special pricing for this event. It's the final store-wide sale of the year with discounts up to 35%. Genesis Diamonds, 3 days only, November 18th, 19th, and 20th. Only at Genesis Diamonds in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
It's the Tuesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. On the phone lines at 615-737-1045. Alongside Ramon Foster and Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. The top 7 and bottom 3 in the NFL this week gets a little bit more difficult.
It does.
Especially considering a few of the top 7 teams were off over the weekend on Bye-Mageddon, and made it difficult to really not move some teams up after big wins and figure out where the Titans go and all of these things. Titans did drop out of my top 7 again.
Mine too.
You kind of had to at that point because there's teams now that are kind of on a roll. Not saying that the Titans are faltering, but
there are teams who had catches made by wide receivers.
It's a living poll is what we're saying, right?
It is a living
and breathing.
Living, breathing poll.
Yes.
We start, though, with the bottom 3. Bottom 3 was tougher this week.
No, I kept the team there because they deserved it.
Okay, so who's that?
Pittsburgh.
Number 30?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at him.
Kept them there. Why? I see no change, okay? This is like Tupac's. I see no change.
I love that song.
Yeah, I knew you'd get it this morning. But seriously, I don't see much hope there for them this year. They're about as hopeless as what the Colts are this year in a sense. I wouldn't go that far. No, not the Colts. Not the Colts.
They don't have they don't have a television host as their head coach, so they've got that going for them.
Yeah, I just don't see it. It's a very young team coming off the bye. I'm hopeful that they'll turn it around, Will, but this is a fight, and it's a team full of young guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's who I have at number 30.
Oh.
Look, this is something really different for Mike Tomlin, and you know best. I mean, this is a guy who has had a team, for the most part, that has been in the mix every single year, has had Ben Roethlisberger, has had that defense. This is not the Pittsburgh that we all know, but it doesn't mean that it's the end.
Right.
It's just a time for rebuilding. But right now, it's not going to happen this season. So
Not right now.
30.
I have a different team at 30. We're not all going to be the same in the bottom 3 like we were last week. I have the Detroit Lions at 30, moving up from 32 or 31, I guess, because I don't really give them a lot of credit for beating the Packers because the Packers almost also made my bottom 3. Yeah. The Packers are really bad at football. Aaron Rodgers threw 2 red zone interceptions in a game for the first time in his career in this game. The last Packers quarterback to do so was Brett Favre against the Lions, Week 15, 2006. Where were you in Week 15 of 2006? Who's to say? The Lions defense showed up, held the Packers to 9 points after previously allowing 32.1 points per game. The Packers had 206 yards on their first 3 drives and 0 points.
So
in this football
let
game.
me ask, you're putting the Lions there and not the Packers?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, Pack got how many?
Because the
wins
Packers
this
still
year?
have Aaron Rodgers and home game in Detroit. I mean,
I think at this point, Aaron Rodgers is almost a hinder.
Yeah, me too. His body language, his reaction, his execution of plays right now look like a rookie.
He looks like Tom Brady.
Yeah. Well, Tom actually looked good on that last drive, though.
He did.
Last drive, but
He's gaining some weight, too. I'm
Aaron
not
Rodgers
even poking
and-
fun at that. He is.
I'm glad
He
he's
looks
gaining
healthier.
some weight. He looks better.
He does.
Okay.
he's filling
I'm
out.
happy for him.
Oh, okay. In that manner, then okay. I'm
I
with
wasn't
you
trying to
there.
be petty, but he really has.
I thought you had a little petty in you this morning. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was looking rough.
Kayla said a little bit real quick, though. We're good now.
I mean, that's fair.
the Lions still have the worst defense of the NFL, so I still have them here and not the Packers. Because the Packers just had a couple of disaster plays and are still better than the Lions, in my opinion. But they played poorly enough to lose that game, and they did. Yeah. So, Lions are 30. Jonathan Schaefer.
Pittsburgh at 30.
Okay.
Hey, call a spade a
There's
spade.
nothing to add. Pittsburgh at 30.
Pittsburgh at 30.
I still think Pittsburgh has a little bit more going for it than Detroit. Because Pittsburgh's coach will still be there.
I have
after this season.
I have Pittsburgh at 30 just because they didn't play in Detroit 1.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I gave Detroit a little credit.
I did too.
Yeah.
I wanted to put
Really
them bottom
did.
3, but they beat Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Okay.
and look, and Green Bay's bad, but for Detroit, that's a big win for them.
Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Division win.
Absolutely.
Had him +4. Number 31.
How's Bracken Camp going?
Pretty well.
Carolina
Had a good weekend. Carolina 31. Okay.
got rubbed by friggin' Cincy this weekend. Just like facing the dirt, Will. What are we doing here, Will? Huh?
You just said
Y'all
they
tell
got
me to grow
You
up.
said they got rubbed?
Yes, man.
I've never heard that as a verb for they got beat. What is it?
Well, they got beat
just got me
down
off
this week.
guard.
Okay.
Hold on. If you would
You've
have said,
used some weird phrases lately.
you know what? She's right. Your phrasing
Zach Wilson
recently has been
and-
kind of, well, we don't need to revisit Zach Wilson.
Well, only
We gotta
moms
go.
revisit Zach Wilson.
That's all I could think about. Watching that game, that's all I could think about was Moan's statement.
Good Lord.
Stacey's mom.
I didn't think about his statement. I thought about you laughing.
By
True.
the way, I had a sweet lady that came up to me last night at the basketball
What
gym.
Zach
She was
Wilson said.
She was his type. But she said there was when we was going over the swag surfing conversation. She was like, she was in traffic, just having the worst day in traffic. It was just sitting still. And she said us talking about the swag surfing made her forget about being in traffic. She was
Loved
like,
it.
I love it.
That by far was one of the best things we did. I was like, really? I was like, you were on my side, right? Like, keep swag. She was like, that's when we were some Sweet Caroline and everything else that day. So, hey, Zach Wilson's day.
Yeah.
Just remember, they're not here for the takes. They're here for the violence.
Me and the rub thing. Come on now, we're good.
No!
Oh, what? Okay.
Absolutely
No.
not.
Okay, all right, never
You're not
mind.
getting away with using
Robert
verbs like
Kraft
that.
was not invited to this.
Oh!
Just let it lie. Just let it lie. Let it lie. Anyway, you have the Carolina Panthers number 31.
No. Sissy just completely they did whatever they wanted. Joe Mixon with 55 fantasy points this weekend. Five total
touchdowns.
Five total
Oh, I need to
touchdowns.
check.
I thought he was joke. Like when I kept getting alerts on fantasy, I'm like, okay, whatever. He's in the red zone. Like Joe Mixon score. I'm like, wait a minute. They can't stop a thing. Their coaches and ownership. I see Tepper trending on Twitter more than Irsay at this point. Like, that's not a position you want to overtake. You know what I'm saying? Like, the owner of the Panthers has been trending more on my algorithm more than friggin' Irsay has. That's they're 31 to me.
Trending on your what?
On my, of course, algorithm on Twitter.
All right.
Yeah.
I
It wasn't
have
a fake word.
There's an L in there, but that's all right.
I said algorithm. didn't I?
because
You
you,
did that
brought
time.
up Joe Mixon in fantasy. I have Joe Mixon and I still almost lost, which would have been really
That's
hard.
incredible.
Lost
I
too?
almost lost.
That
mean-
would have been great.
And I had Joe Mixon, but
Yeah.
I won by 4.
If you have Joe Mixon, I feel like you had to win fantasy that week.
The Nashville football
Yeah.
team pulled it off. We did. Kayla, number 31.
Houston, the
Okay.
Houston Texans.
Yep.
I will give them some credit because they put a valiant effort into Thursday night football.
They did.
They did. And you know what? I have belief in Damian Pierce and the talent that this kid has. Look, the Titans shut him down because the Titans are elite defense, in my opinion. Great in the run game. But I think that first half they showed we're not just going to roll over just because we had an embarrassing performance against the Titans. They came out in that first half. This is an Eagles team that's undefeated, that's getting high praise, which is warranted. But I give them a little bit of credit because they have the pieces there. It's now just sorting out, how they use them. Is Davis Mills the guy moving forward? That's stuff that you have to determine. But they're making moves, especially at the top with the firing of certain people.
They are.
They're making some better moves.
I also have Houston at 31, and I literally wrote down in my notes, too, valiant effort moves them ahead of Carolina, who, spoiler alert, I have at 32 in a minute. But I think Houston showed that they care,
Yeah.
which is more than you can say about Carolina over the weekend as well. Now, that can change week to week. They can kind of give up in the middle of games. But Houston in the first half has been fine all season. They really have been. I mean, they were good against Vegas a few weeks ago and then just fell apart in the second half and kind of gave up a little bit. I didn't see them give up as much against that Philadelphia team that they did in the past than they did against the Titans. And I feel like there are some of those rookies. You talk about Christian Harris. You talk about Jalen Petrie and Derek Stingley, who are going to start taking ownership of that thing a little bit more over the second half of the season. They've got a lot of young players.
Yeah.
And they're going to continue to with all the draft picks they have in future seasons with the Deshaun Watson trade.
Right.
So
and Lovey's a respected coach around the league.
he
I think
is.
players respect him for the most part. So we're not looking at a coach that's a complete disaster either. I'm not saying he's going to be there permanently, but
I think
But it's a good reset.
for people who watch baseball, it's similar to when Don Mattingly was hired as the head coach of the Miami Marlins. Of like, hey, we know this guy's probably not going to be the guy for an extended period of time. Funny thing is, Don Mattingly has been in Miami, but you want to have an older veteran coach bring along your rookies when you have such high percentage of young players on a team and teach them, the children are our future, teach them the way. Like, that's kind of the way Houston looks at this. And honestly, I get it. If you're going to punt on a couple of seasons, that you might as well have a veteran head coach mentor young players and set them up for future success in the National Football League.
Y'all have a real bless your heart approach to the Texans.
Am I wrong?
Kayla, you did too for the valiant effort they had on Thursday night and a loss. And Will is the kids are our future on the NFL team.
Are
you kidding me?
Have you looked at how many rookies? Future. I mean, you know how many young players they have on that team.
They're still at 31.
We did a scout meeting Wednesday for them a couple weeks ago.
And we could very well put Colts down in this bottom three.
I thought about it.
They're creeping.
I thought about it.
Well,
creeping.
I put them there.
Look at that. There we go.
I was close to having the bottom three teams be the other three teams in the AFC South, but I didn't go that level of.
Don't disrespect the Titans that way.
Disrespect.
Yeah.
Jonathan Schaefer, number 31.
Carolina.
Okay.
Houston's still at 32.
Okay.
I got Colts 32.
Yeah.
Zero effort, zero push from to me, I think this is a more internal 32 than it is a player-driven 32. You fire your head coach. You punt two coaches the other day ago. You ended up hiring a guy who's a TV analyst, and I love Jeff Saturday. We were just bragging about how we like him being on TV, and you go hire this guy while having more experience on your coaching staff. Irsay tweets out, "We fired a guy." It's a broken in shambles, and it sucks for the players that got to deal with this more than anything. To me, I hope they lose the rest of the season, and I hope they have a sanction come up or a scandal come up to where they got to give up the number one pick. That's where I am with the Colts. I am bleep the Colts with every Titans fan in this city right now. This makes zero sense to me. I love new guys getting new job opportunities. But it's got to be a coach somewhere that's been in the back room studying film. And
now,
I know
this is interim.
It's interim, but even still in that role, I'm just like, that was how much you think he called Peyton? You know what I'm saying? And just begged him to. It's like,
I'd be interested.
To me, they're 32.
That.
And then, of course, they got boat raced by the Patriots last weekend, and I don't think they're that good either.
They don't even have a quarterback.
You see what I'm saying? It's ugly. They can no longer make an argument for best running back, best quarterback, or best organization.
Jonathan can't stay healthy.
I don't want to hear it anymore from a coach.
Okay. Kayla?
At 32.
Yep.
I have the Carolina Panthers.
There it is.
They lost 42-21 to the Bengals. First and foremost, yes, Mixon went off. But my goodness. And now they're activating Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
So
their savior.
What other quarterback can we just get out of the basement and tell him to go play?
It's backup quarterback
Sam Darnold
in Carolina.
Yeah,
That's a TV show I'd watch.
In that game against the Bengals too, which the quarterback for that, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
If you forgot he's down there, he's down there.
He tricked me too.
They were outrushed 241-64.
Yeah, they were.
Yikes.
Yeah.
3 turnovers. So, Baker had 2 TDs. He also turned the ball over. So,
guess they won't let him cook anymore.
They did not. I also have Carolina 32. The Bengals had more first half points than the Panthers had first half yards. The Bengals had 35 points in the first half. The Panthers had 32 yards in the first half. Carolina allowed 311 yards in the first 30 minutes of that game. Joe Burrow's day was done in the third quarter. Joe Mixon had career highs in scrimmage yards at 211 and touchdowns with 5. So at least it makes Derrick Henry's, rushing touchdown title in the NFL a little bit tougher, considering what Joe Mixon did over the weekend.
Yeah.
That's horrendous, man.
Jonathan Schaefer, number 32.
I already said Houston.
There it is.
Houston.
So that is our bottom 3 in the National Football League. And the top 7 when we come back. The Titans likely omitted from all of our top 7s, but we will see if they make the cut for us. And where do the New York Jets go? After the win of the weekend over the Buffalo Bills, does Buffalo move down in our top 7s? We give you the best of the NFL when we come back on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 104.5 The Zone.
Change is coming and you need to be prepared. Hey, this is Ramon Falston. Did you know that new regulations are coming soon that could increase the price of replacing your older HVAC system by over 20%? That's why you need to act now and get that older system replaced by my friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They offer 18 months with no payments. You can lock in today's price and not have to pay until spring of 2024. Or you can get up to $1,500 off a new HVAC system now. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is also backed by a 10-year parts and labor warranty on York products. And Spring Hill Heating and Cooling is also a York Certified Comfort Expert company. And if you're in need of repair work, they offer free service calls with their repairs, plus low monthly payments on those repairs. They are the heating and cooling company that can take care of all of your HVAC needs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, available anytime at springhillac.com.
A very good Tuesday morning to you in Nashville, Tennessee. On Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. We've given you our bottom three. Now time for the top 7 in the National Football League this weekend. On the phone lines at 615-737-1045. So number 7 gets a little bit more difficult because I admitted I had the Titans, Seahawks, and Jets pretty much all in the same spot, but gave a slight edge to the Titans based on its defense last week. I won't do so this week. But, Ramon, you lead us off on number 7 after an eventful Sunday in the National Football League.
My 7 and 6 from last week, one is the same. One actually leapfrogged the Seahawks, and that's I got the Seahawks at 7 still. Okay. I like them just as far as what they're doing. Gino and them are fighting back and wins. They're another division win for them against the 49ers this past weekend, man. Cardinals. Yeah, that's right. We was talking about Baby Yoda. He had them arguing on the sideline. Like legit, I saw somebody tweet out if there's arguments all the time and you are in each argument, then you are the problem in each scenario. That's Kyler at this point.
I think coaching's too a huge issue there.
They got a real bad issue, but I will not take away from what Gino is doing, man. That team is good. Not only that, got receivers that's willing to play for him. A defense is playing good enough. They are quietly. If they had bigger names on that team, I think we'd be talking about them the same way we talked about Marshawn now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Real quick, Cousin Danny made sure to correct this because there's so many quarterbacks that have played for Carolina. It was P.J. Walker who started the game. So he had the 2 interceptions, and Baker had the 2 touchdowns. So just to make that clear. But now they've activated Sam Darnold because I'm sure P.J. is going to be on his way out. So anyway, that's the mess there. Okay, at number 7, I actually have this week the Baltimore Ravens.
Ooh. Okay.
And I say that because watching the game last night, and it's always hard, these Monday night games, to stay up for, so I try to stay up for as much as I can. But this was a really great defensive effort by Baltimore. I really liked the pickup of Roquan Smith. Yes. I think that's going to add a lot. Again, a head coach that you can kind of count on. They've won 3 straight, so they're starting to get back on a roll. I think you liked what you saw from Lamar Jackson. So I like the direction they're headed in. So they're going to bump up to my top 7 this week.
With Baltimore's 27-13 win last night, they became the first team since the 2011 Packers to hold a double-digit lead in each of their first 9 games. Baltimore has given up a lot of those leads. I had them for real earlier on in the season. I stand by that as I think they're a contender in the AFC. But the addition of Roquan Smith puts them over the edge defensively. Him and Patrick Queen. I know Patrick Queen has been a little up and down. Those are still 2 of the most athletic linebackers that you can have together on a defense in that 3-4 look. I know Wink Martindale isn't there anymore, but that defense is figuring it out as that team goes. And Lamar Jackson makes a lot of good throws. He makes a lot of dumb throws still. But this was good Lamar last night. And stats didn't really jump off the page, but didn't make a lot of big mistakes. And essentially that is the kicker for a banged-up Baltimore team that still doesn't have really a very consistent force at running back. I think Kenyon Drake has helped kind of the back end of that running back room, but still a team that is very interesting to me going over the course of this season. I've got the New York Jets at 7. I know the Jets just beat Buffalo. The bad New England loss still lingers from a week before. Otherwise, they would have been higher. But I give them the edge over the Titans and over the Seahawks just because I think they've got the best win out of those 3 teams over Buffalo. And I also think that James Robinson has really made that running back room better ever since Breece Hall went out. As a team, the Jets outgained the Bills 174-134 on the ground. And they were able to win the game using their run game to kick that go-ahead field goal. So the loss to New England is still a weird one. Michael Carter and James Robinson are still a solid 1-2 punch for a run-first offense. And so I've got the Jets 7.
I watched a lot of that game. I was extremely impressed with kind of adjusting in the second half to the Bills' offense because the first half was not good. Josh Allen was running all over the place. In the second half, they really locked down on defense. I thought it was an incredible performance. I thought the secondary, Sauce Gardner, is unbelievable.
So
Man,
good.
What a fun player to watch. And when you stick to the plan of running the ball, your defense comes out and puts on a performance like that. And look, Zach Wilson was fine.
Yep.
He didn't do too much, didn't try to do too much. That's a good recipe for them to win. And so I give him some points too this week.
Absolutely. Jonathan Schaefer, number 7.
Seattle at 7.
Okay. I like it.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Number 6, before we go to break, with our top 5 coming up.
I moved the Titans out and moved the Jets in for all of those reasons that y'all said right there, and their quality of win too. Zach Wilson's ended up beating Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, all within the same year. The defense is coming together really well. Sauce Gardner. The name itself is attractive. Watching him play is even more attractive. The kid is good, man. Watching him just be that long and being able to move the way he does, and like he redirects wide receivers and everything that he does. And this is the other part too. A lot of AFC teams would probably end up appreciating what the Jets end up doing to Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Josh Allen's got
he's got a
UCL
right elbow
or something going on. Like,
Gonna be limited this week.
So, hey, they did the league a favor. They got to play the Bills, I guess, for people positioning.
That's right. New Jersey's team beating New York's team over the weekend.
In the same state.
Kayla, number 6.
Yeah, you guys are going to give me hate for this. You're going to call me biased. But maybe I am a little. I'm putting Seattle at 6. And the reason why I say that is, again, this is a team that had nobody picking them to win the division. They were supposed to finish last in the division, in the NFC West. Just Geno continues to be Geno. Like y'all say, he's not riding back. He really isn't. And I think once you get a guy to kind of rally your team, and you've got a coach like Pete Carroll, and you've got a running back like Kenneth Walker that stepped up to the plate, they're doing everything they need to do to win games. And they went down to Phoenix, and they beat Arizona. And look, Arizona has weapons. It's not like that's a bad team.
No.
They're taking care of business, though. And I can't fault them for that. And until I see them lose a game, I'll push them back. But for right now, they're going to be at 6 for me this week.
I've still got the New York Giants at 6, off this past week, but I think their body of work over the whole season is enough to keep them in that top group. I still think they are legit in the NFC East. So did not penalize them just for not playing over the weekend. I've got them still in the top 7 coming in at 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Baltimore at 6.
Okay. So that is 7 and 6 for us. The top 5 teams of the NFL likely going to look similar, but how badly do we penalize the Buffalo Bills for their loss to the New York Jets over the weekend? Plus your phone calls at 615-737-1045. 1 hour down, 3 more to go on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. 1045 The Zone. Hey, what's going on? It is Will Bowling here for my friends at Lee Company. And you've heard me talk about Lee Company, all the services that they provide, and they do it all. Whether it's heating this time of year as the weather gets a little bit colder, whether it's air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical, they've got a great offer for you right now. You're going to save $20 on any service call, whether that's HVAC, plumbing, or electrical. And the phone number, easy to remember, 567-1000. That's 615-567-1000. Lee Company does it all, and with 950 vehicles in their fleet and 24/7 service, they're here to help that heating system be ready to go, be efficient as we head into colder weather. They've been trusted for nearly 80 years. They've got over 1,600 employees ready to help you 24/7. So let Lee Company help with your next home improvement project, whether it's heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical. Save $20 on any service call. See them online at leecompany.com. The phone number again, 615-567-1000. Lee Company, all you need.
7:01. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. After a 3-5-1 start, a 3-game losing streak, and significant quarterback issues, the Indianapolis Colts fired head coach Frank Reich in a stunning decision. The Colts hired former All-Pro center Jeff Saturday to be the interim head coach. Saturday has no prior NFL coaching experience. Baltimore Ravens have won 3 in a row after defeating the New Orleans Saints 27-13 on Monday Night Football. Kenyon Drake had 2 touchdown carries for the Ravens, who improved to 6-3.
Jackson will hand it to Drake. He's got a crease. He's to the 1. He's to the goal line. Touchdown Ravens. Kenyon Drake.
And college basketball tipped off across the nation yesterday. Number 11 Tennessee defeated Tennessee Tech 75-43. Memphis 76, Vanderbilt 67, and Belmont with a 70-69 win over Ohio. Cade Tyson made a 3-pointer at the buzzer for the victory for the Bruins. Roaring Foundation repair and waterproofing needs. Visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your own for the Titans and the Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hour number 2 of the Tuesday edition on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, right here on 104.5 The Zone with 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson. I'm Will Bowling, made possible by the man behind the glass, pushing all of the right buttons. Not some of them, all of the right buttons. And his name is the best producer in the world, Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
Of the world, Craig. The world.
The best producer in the world.
Oh, the world, Craig.
There we go.
The world.
There it is.
Thank you.
We give our top 5 teams of the National Football League before looking ahead to the college football playoff rankings coming up later tonight. We give you our thoughts on Tennessee's game against the Georgia Bulldogs and give you a chance to head to Knoxville this weekend. A little bit of Tennessee Ticket Tuesday coming up in about 10 minutes at 7:15. So be on the lookout for that if you want to see the top 10 Vols this weekend in Knoxville against the newly extended Missouri Tigers and Eli Drinkwitz.
Yeah, I was shocked that he got an extension like that, man. I didn't know people were after Drinkwitz like that.
You beat South Carolina and Vandy, you get signed up for more years in Como.
What's wrong with you?
So much.
I will say, like, he does have a personality.
Yeah.
Like, I can get it. I see how. Like, last year I gave him a lot of crap. It's like, dude, just win. Stop all. But I can get this side of him being able to possibly recruit. It's a matter of winning, though. But his personality is
I don't
cool.
think that's very easy in Missouri to do. Like, I get you're in the SEC, but it's kind of like the outskirts of
It is.
Yes,
I think we're already accepting Oklahoma and Texas more than we do Missouri right now. Yeah, that sucks. Well, it sucks to be them.
He may have a personality. Doesn't mean I like it, but he has something, I guess.
That's the Will I was looking for. I know I'll get a market correction on that one. Can't like him too much because of his personality.
Top 5 in the National Football League, beginning with our number 5 team, Ramon Foster.
I got Baltimore, number 5.
Wow.
Yeah. I like what Lamar is doing. He's able to run that offense and now able to get down more safe than he has in the past. Them going to get Roquan. You saw the effects of it last night. They're a division leader right now. That defense will continually be really good. And right now, as far as scoring, they're 5th in scoring, Will. I don't think you can really deny them. I know like the Titans-Ravens hate is real, and you know the Steeler-Raven hate is very real too. But I got to give credit where credit is due. This team has actually had some good quality wins this year. They're in a position to actually make a run in the playoffs. Getting Roquan, I think, takes them over the top as far as being able to cover across the middle. We'll see what they do against a team like Kansas City at some point. Do they play KC this year? No, they're not on the docket for them. But they should win the AFC North at this point right now. I don't know if Cincy's going to be able to bring up the back end of trying to make a push for that win, for that division, I mean.
Interesting. Okay. Baltimore at 5.
Baltimore at 5.
Kayla?
This is hard because I feel like this week, not only the bottom 3, it was kind of tough to maybe take some people out, put some people in. And the same thing for my top 7 this week, because there was a little bit of shuffling due to the Buffalo Bills losing. But I'm going to put, the 7-1 Minnesota Vikings at number 5 this week. And I don't want to take anything away from this team winning games and taking care of business, because a win is a win. But it still worries me, some of the games, how they're winning it. It's like one little mess up. I feel like this team would not be able to hold it together in a really, against a really good competitor, because they just beat Washington by 3?
Yeah.
And if you look at the numbers, they couldn't get the running game going.
Right.
I mean, Kirk Cousins, if anybody saw the stuff on the plane.
Oh, it's terrific.
First of all, I did appreciate seeing some personality.
Yeah.
I had to do a double take. I was like, is that really him?
He was icy.
Yeah, he had everything going on there on that jet. But they haven't proven to me that they're better than the guys I have above them. So 5.
Yeah, there's a video of Kirk Cousins, if you haven't seen it, of him with a silver chain on and these glasses.
Does he have glasses? Yeah.
These glasses, dancing around, and all the guys around him are like, Kirk, okay, they're dancing around with him.
He might have had $500,000 worth of jewelry on him.
Did he really?
Yeah, no, for real.
But that's opposite of what he is as a personality. I feel
You like that? Yeah, no, he's
he keeps in his shell.
Y'all look at those chains he had on. They were thick and icy. He maybe $350,000 worth of jewelry.
I feel like Kirk Cousins, low-key, one of those quarterbacks that kind of has that dog in him.
Yeah, you gotta
literally
bring it out. So in that way, maybe you do give him a little more credit, right?
Nobody is that boring.
Yeah. No.
No one's actually that boring. And the fact that he comes across publicly as just kind of boring, random guy means that there's no way he actually is that boring.
And I heard people hating on, the quarterback body, because not everybody can have the abs.
Yeah.
But I thought, he had the I thought the arms looked good.
It was cool. He was
thought
a
it was
quarterback. Oh my God, they were really hating on
that.
that.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean?
People.
I thought he looked pretty good.
Mirror. That's what you do. Hey, mirror. That's all you got to say to some people. Really? You talking? Oh my God.
People projecting their own dad bods onto professional athletes is a tough look.
Cold-blooded out here, man.
I have the Dallas Cowboys at number 5 still.
Okay.
I again will not move them very much because they were off this week. I really don't know how good they are. Honestly, I give them more of the benefit of the doubt as they give Tony Pollard more carries. Because Tony Pollard,
you're really hating that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. He's a really good running back, and he's getting more looks now. And I overcorrect because Jerry Jones doesn't like him. Jerry Jones at any given point is Ezekiel Elliott's a running back, and we're going to continue to give him the ball, and Tony will get opportunities and all these things about being an idiot owner in the National Football League like Jerry Jones is.
I love your Southern Texas accent. You hear that?
Here, guys.
I love to hear you do the rest of the show.
Coming up next, we're going to have
Please
your
do not
chance.
do the rest of the show like that.
We'll go see the Tennessee Vols. Okay. All right. I turned to Jeremy Pruitt a little bit there.
Wait a minute. How did it become Jeremy Pruitt,
I know.
McConaughey, and Charles Davis all at the same time?
All right. Anyway.
He better be the guest picker. That's all I have to say.
No, absolutely. Jonathan Schaefer, number 5. Number 5, please, there, Mr. Producer Schaefer.
Shut up. Coach Mack, you might want to cover your ears on this one because the analogy I'm about to make. Minnesota is the TCU of the NFL.
Both purple.
Ooh, he went there.
As Kayla said earlier, they've earned it. They're 7-1. They deserve to be there. But it feels like they're right there on the edge to where it could tip over very easily. So Minnesota's there at 5, although I really don't know where to place Minnesota other than, hey, your record says who you are.
Wow.
Yep.
Safe.
Interesting.
Yep.
Number 4, Ramon Foster.
Number 4, I had them at 2 last week. Market correction, I had to move the Bills down to 4.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the loss to the Jets, that's a divisional game. I know they're still leading the division, but you can't do that. Josh, their offense had 2 turnovers, man. That defense for the Jets had a real good day for themselves, man. That was just a bad look for them. They can't afford to take drops like this. And not only that, in the process of getting your quarterback throwing arm hurt some too. That's just not a good look. You can't go on the road and lose like that. Yes, maybe they'll have home field advantage throughout the playoffs if they get the number 1 overall seed, but they're not in a position to drop games against a young quarterback like Zach Wilson. Much as I want to keep him in the top 3, I couldn't.
Guess what? I have them at number 4 too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and look, again, this was really hard shuffling around this week because I think some teams are starting to even up. I also have to give an honorable mention to the Miami Dolphins in my top 7 because I think they're starting to get back on track.
Me too.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill is just a monster.
Yeah.
That's besides the point. Yeah, Buffalo Bills. Josh Allen and this injury worries me a bit, guys. This is his throwing arm.
Mm-hmm.
Elbow issues are nothing to mess around with. They've kind of tiptoed around the issue a little bit. Like they said that they're going to monitor him this week, but they're also still getting more tests done.
Yeah.
So the performance was not there for me. I did not like the performance that they put up the second half, letting the Jets do what they did. But now with the elbow issue, ugh.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't move Buffalo down is because Josh Allen has a couple of these games every year where he plays like he did in 2018 as a rookie when he was terrible. And this was just one of them. So we'll see where I have Buffalo in a minute. But I've got Minnesota 4th. With their win on Sunday, the Vikings extended their division lead to 4.5 games at the NFC North, which is the largest division lead held by a team through Week 9 since the 49ers in 2011. Who had a 5-game lead in the NFC West 11 years ago. So I almost actually moved the Vikings to 3 ahead of the Chiefs, who I'll tell you about in a minute of why I have them where I do. But Vikings pressured Taylor Heineke on 29% of his drop back, sacked him 3 times. I just think the Commanders are actually kind of decent now.
Oh, do you?
So I don't knock them for only beating them by 3 because that's actually kind of a difficult team to beat on the road. I mean, they just won 3 games in a row.
Well, Heineke is better than.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
They were putting him on
the
season
ladder.
ticket promos for next year in the stadium. Jonathan Schaefer, number 4.
Dallas at number 4.
Okay.
I didn't drop Buffalo down very far.
Baby got Dak
Oh.
at number 4. You never heard that before? That's like a big fantasy football name for anyone with Dak Prescott is Baby Got Dak. Yeah. I thought that was just like something people knew.
Are we back now on the Margs versus?
Yeah.
I guarantee you that Jonathan Schaefer is going to save that for the week the Titans play the Cowboys. Yeah, he already wrote it down. He already wrote it down. Unbelievable.
No, Will.
Number 3. Go.
I got Kansas City, man.
Okay.
Simply because an ugly win is better than a pretty loss. The Titans pushed this team. They really, really did. They pushed this team, man. They're 6-2 on the year so far, and I don't know if I want to call them legit, but they took a very personal game emotionally and ended up coming out beating the Titans this past weekend. Again, the Titans pushed them. The Titans probably should have won that game for a backup quarterback to be in, and they only win by 3 points in overtime. The good teams got to win like that too. So I got them at 3.
Kayla, number 3.
I've got. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Yes, I have the Dallas Cowboys. I just want to make sure that was right because again, I shuffled this week. I have the Dallas Cowboys. No, Baby Got Dak is not what I use in that. The way that I described them. That's great.
I regret nothing.
That is great. No, Dak Prescott, good to have him back, maybe getting more in a groove now. Hey, Jerry Jones, he is not the coach when it's all said and done.
No.
So let the coach figure out the running back situation, but at least you got 2.
Yeah.
At least you got 2 backs. I mean, 2's better than 1. I think that this Dallas Cowboys team has actually not got the attention it is used to getting. So this is what I'm actually excited about for Dallas Cowboys fans because usually there's so much attention on them that I feel like they just can't go to work and do business.
Mm-hmm.
And this year I feel like they're kind of just doing their thing.
Yeah.
And they're winning games for the most part. So I like the trajectory that they're going on right now.
Wait a minute, you're excited for Cowboys fans?
No, I didn't. I mean, look, I'm not a hater on all these other teams.
Yeah.
And they've gone every single year, had all this stuff. Oh, they're going to make it to the playoffs. They're going to get to. Every year they fail. Every year they're one and done. And so this year, I feel like, hey, at least they got a little bit of hope.
Yeah. And it's been more quiet.
You kind of just bless their heart.
A little bit.
Yeah, they're going to be cute until they're not.
Well, it's because baby got
And
back.
I guarantee you,
live by.
Jerry Jones will make this thing all blow up.
He'll find a way. Always does. I've got Kansas City third.
Okay.
Almost moved them up. Almost moved them down. I just decided to keep them where they are.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is the difference of why that team got a win on Sunday Night Football and why they didn't.
Sir.
Jonathan Schaefer, number 3.
Buffalo.
Okay. And then number 2, quickly.
2, I got Minnesota.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I couldn't knock them. I could not knock them. Also, the plane ride with Kirk Cousins allowed.
Yeah, I
me to
knew
move
that
them.
did it. I knew that did it for you.
That makes sense.
No,
I absolutely
But they got
do.
a really good defense. Their offense is playing good enough. They finally get Jefferson another touchdown on the year. I think this team is good. They got some tests coming up. Buffalo. They got Dallas still. They got a few on their schedule that they got to knock out of the way. But this team should win NFC North.
Kayla?
I got Kansas City.
Okay.
And I say that, and I'm giving the Titans some credit in this and moving them up to 2 because I think the Titans' defense is one of the best in the NFL right now. I really do. I think they keep on building that chip on their shoulder. That's a tough defense. And look, Kansas City has way more weapons on offense. But I thought that was a battle that obviously went into overtime. Kansas City won. I thought that was a good win, even though people thought it would probably be a blowout. But Patrick Mahomes is just so special, and it reminded me of that in that game on Sunday night.
Yep.
Just how special he is. He can win in different ways, and he used his legs and got it done.
Buffalo 2 for me because I don't knock them for Josh Allen having his yearly really bad game. Injury wise, we'll see, but I don't knock Buffalo. That's a road game in the division against a good team in New York against a really good defense. They almost still won the game. I've still got Buffalo 2.
Okay, I respect it.
Jonathan Schaefer,
KC 2, then Philadelphia 1.
Yeah,
Philadelphia 1 for me.
Yep, Philly won.
Okay. So that is our top 7 and bottom 3 in the National Football League this week. When we come back, we give you where the college football playoff committee should go tonight. With Tennessee's loss to Georgia, we recap the Vols' bad weekend in Athens for the first time on the show this morning and take a look at what the top 6 should look like tonight. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
When it comes to large home repairs, a lot of the time we homeowners pretend we don't see the warning signs. We are afraid of what we're going to hear. Why? Because your house, you work so hard for it. But this is especially true with waterproofing and foundation repair. It could be something big that needs to be fixed now, or it could be a small problem that'll become a bigger problem later, or it may be nothing at all. In these moments, you want a peace of mind, and that's when you need United Structural Systems. With USS, you get problem solvers, experts to educate you and help you understand what's happening with your home. USS will provide an honest diagnosis and stand by the work and warranties. Best thing is the warranties stay with the house even if you sell it, so the person buying your house can be rest assured they are going to be fine with the repairs you have to make. And USS, they're based right here in Middle Tennessee and is a member of our community. So when it comes to something as important as your home, USS is the company who cares and the company you can trust. USS serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama. Find them online at USSTN.com or call them at 615-227-2275. We guarantee our best. Call USS.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you.
I want to get with ya
stylings
and
of
take your
Kayla
picture.
Anderson. Jonathan
Baby
Schaefer
got
Show.
in Will's name.
Baby got Dak.
Dak.
That's right. We give you our thoughts on the college football playoff and Tennessee's odds of still making it in. But first, we give you the chance to head to Knoxville to see the Volunteers this Saturday. It is Tennessee Ticket Thursday, sponsored by Famous Dave's Barbecue right here on 104.5 The Zone. Tennessee Ticket Tuesday, I should say. All the T words got me mixed up there. Big caller number 5 right now. Literally right now, to win tickets to see Tennessee, Missouri this Saturday night at Neyland Stadium, thanks to Famous Dave's Barbecue. Get the best barbecue for your buck only at Famous Dave's. The phone number is 615-737-1045. Caller number 5 sees who might be the 5th-ranked Vols this weekend in Knoxville. So there you go. Tennessee Ticket Tuesday.
You're going.
I will be there.
You are going, Will.
You will see me there early morning to make that drive for a noon game. Noon game on CBS.
Mm-hmm.
Rick Neuheisel on the call with this, with Tom McCarthy, the voice of the Phillies.
Nice.
Former UW head coach there.
Nice. Look at the connections.
Right.
You stopping at the Jimbo buyout store again?
100%.
Okay.
There is a 100% chance. I'll get me some kolaches on the way up.
Dude,
Kolaches.
those bathrooms are the best.
Oh,
They
they're so
are
good.
nice.
Buc-ee's is what we're talking about, by the way.
What bathroom? That you see that in like a really nice hotel restaurant or something like. Buc-ee's has it.
Yeah, Buc-ee's has it, and they're selling art in the on
Are
the
they?
way in and out of the restaurant. Yeah, up on the walls.
I didn't even see that. I'll have to
Those
look next time.
paintings are for sale.
Wow.
They're like $400, $500 too.
Not bad.
I got some like giant size Rice Krispie treat when I was.
Oh,
there.
so
Did
good.
you?
I think I'm going to try the breakfast tacos this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've never had those before. Apparently, they're pretty good.
And they're very efficient on getting you in and out of the store too.
They really are.
Yeah, 100%.
Kolache, it was the thing I tried over the weekend. It was fantastic.
What is kolache?
It's hard to explain. It's the
Okay.
first time I had one. My brother was like, "Here, try this." It was like a boudin kolache with like sausage, chicken, and rice in the middle of like basically like a fried pocket of, I don't know, like a pastry.
Mm-hmm.
And you can either do like fruit kolaches or like cream cheese,
Mm-hmm.
or you can get like meat. And mine was like smoked sausage and rice,
That sounds really good.
and like a
actually.
little like fried
Yeah.
thing, kind of like an empanada,
Okay.
a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't have to make that for us, Will.
I'm cultured.
Yeah, you are cultured.
Saying, coming from, I should say,
Yeah.
the guy who said he's going to have a barbecue still hasn't
We're having
invited
that,
us.
Kayla. We are having that.
Well, somebody was
It
barbecue.
might be a shindig now.
Oh,
we'll
wow.
call it something different.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, because it's been windy like the last few weekends though too.
Hasn't been cold
Like,
at all.
It hasn't
No.
been, and like the wind. Like I want to light a fire for you guys too. Like I want to go out there and have a good time. Will you eat s'mores?
Oh, s'mores are like my
We all
favorite
eat
dessert.
S'mores.
Okay, I was just checking.
Thank you for not saying s'mores.
Yeah, I was about to on purpose. You see me trying to I hesitated to correct myself, and I was just like, okay, I won't do that anymore.
I love it.
S'mores.
So, Tennessee over the weekend, Ramon Foster, what is your biggest takeaway from what happened in Athens on Saturday?
The Joes and the Jimmys and Joes that Georgia had, I think, kind of showed up. I think we saw a difference in what it means to actually have those guys. And I'd say this too. I actually had somebody kind of say this to me about this game. It's almost as if Kirby Smart was, and I don't know if I'm giving too much credit, just being, I don't know what you want to call it, but Kirby Smart's been studying this team, this defense for a while. It's the way this game looked. The way he was strategic in breaking guys down. The way he knew, look, simplify this thing, play man-to-man because your guys are just as good. Watching our guy try to do a double move on their secondary, on their DB, and it not work, and for them to do a double move on us and just get a wide open pass down the sideline. I thought that was just a matter of talent taking over in a situation like this. And truthfully, they bullied Tennessee a good bit in this game. As far as establishing dominance, there is a difference. Mm-hmm. I can realize that. I'm okay with saying that. This scheme works against a lot, and I think if they see each other again, could be a different outcome. Not necessarily wins and losses, but I don't think you'll see what happened this past week again. if you got to play them, Georgia second time around if they make it into the college football playoffs or something like that.
Fair to say that just Tennessee played its worst game, clearly, of the season, and Georgia played its best game. And I know that people could say, yeah, but it happens.
Yeah, it does.
And I just think defensively, maybe I personally was underestimating Georgia a little bit.
Me too. I raised my hand, Kayla. I'm with you.
I'll say that. I'm like, they have a good defense, but they lost a lot of pieces, and you just knew what this Tennessee offense was this year, and it still is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it still is. But, man, give Kirby Smart a lot of credit for preparing those guys, the game plan, and that environment. Yeah, it had a little effect.
Yeah, no doubt about it. What was that D tackle that they have?
Jalen Carter.
Yeah, he's him. He gave Spraggins fits. He got pressure on Hooker the entire night. I didn't think the pressures were bad. But when you need that offense to develop a little bit, I looked at the way we were running our routes. I expected this team not to go for the long shot. Like, it needed to work itself down the field, and they were looking for the shots. I thought a little bit too much. On one of those sacks, you had Jalen Hyatt crossing the field wide open, but you couldn't get to him because pressure was on him. I'm thinking to myself, man, we need 3 seconds. Ball got to be gone. Not even that long. Like, it's 1, 2, 3, find one. Because Georgia was able to just bring up a lot of just pressure from their front four. And then you saw them shooting 7 sometime too. And you're just like, okay, Hype will adjust. And not saying that there wasn't an adjustment. I don't think this defense that we saw this year was what they presented us with last year. Last year, they just wrecked the entire offensive line. There was absolutely no life in that group. This past year, I think there was some life in what we were attempting to do. It just didn't have enough time to breathe a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And Will, didn't you say coming in last week that you were worried about that pressure because they had not actually had as many sacks on the quarterback this year as we thought?
Right.
Because I assumed I assumed it was more. Coming into this game, it was 10.
Yeah, 10.
And
now
this game's 6.
Yeah.
So
that was the biggest difference in this game, and that was what we told you all week leading up to this game, is that Tennessee's offensive line had to take the next step and prove that it could dominate another really good opponent up front. And they didn't. They got dominated by a better defensive line that was better stopping Hendon Hooker and better at sacking the quarterback than anybody has been against Tennessee, and better than what Georgia has done against anyone this season. Pro Football Focus gives Tennessee's offense 19 pressures allowed against the Georgia defensive line. 6 sacks, 4 hits, 7 hurries. Jeremiah Crawford and Javonte Spraggins each allowed 6 pressures on their own. And I think half of those were coverage sacks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the 5-star corners. Keely Ringo was the number 1 corner in the country coming out in 2020. He was the number 4 player in America. Tennessee's scheme can only get them so far against immensely talented teams like this. And I think this was a narrative game of how far can Tennessee's scheme get it with a veteran quarterback who's one of the best in the country against one of the best defenses in the country in their home environment. And Tennessee did not meet the moment for the first time this season under Josh Heupel. That, to me, was the biggest surprise. The 8 pre-snap penalties shocked me about this Tennessee team. And we said it all week that the environment in Sanford Stadium is not what a lot of other SEC stadiums is, simply because of the design of the stadium. It has the open end. It's got the Jumbotron behind one end zone. It's not closing that sound. I'll give them full credit. That atmosphere is completely different than it was, I would say, even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Ever since Kirby Smart's second season in 2017, when they lost to the national championship game, Athens has gone to another level to be in the elite environments of the SEC with LSU, with Florida, with Alabama, Tennessee, Auburn. I would put those teams all at the very, very top as the haves in terms of the loudest stadiums in the Southeastern Conference. But Tennessee, I think, played its worst game at the worst possible time, and Hendon Hooker played his worst game in a Tennessee uniform at the worst possible time.
I don't know if it's the worst possible time. I think if you were going to have a bad game, now is a better opportunity to have it because you still have games to still make a case for yourself, too. This, to me, I think was a growth type of game, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Tennessee hasn't deviated from the plan whatsoever when it comes down. How they're going to score, what they're doing to score, and who they're going to score also. That's the way I looked at it. It's like, okay, well, now we get an opportunity to see what Heupel is as a coach or Golesh. Yeah. As an OC, how this defense can respond. Like, you got exposed by double moves and guys just getting open on you and bullying you in certain situations that I think now is a good adjustment period to what the Vols need to actually have coming their way if they're going to be one of those teams.
And it's all about how you bounce back from this game, right? How you adjust, how you as a team, because we've seen it all year. They've come in prepared. They've been consistent. Now, how do you bounce back? How does Heupel get his guys to believe, hey, we still got a lot to play for? And they do. And they're still not out of the college football playoff talk. When it comes to Hendon Hooker, not his best game, but, the offensive line didn't really help.
Yeah, no.
Let's not put all the blame on him.
Yeah.
I don't think it was one of their best games. So.
No. And also, this is the other part, too. Tennessee playing most of its big games at the house, except for LSU. And I think we saw what Death Valley can do at nighttime against Alabama, too. Mm-hmm. But we've already learned that this is the case. They got Missouri at home last game, but they got to go to South Carolina, which is a late game, too. And my group chat with my class of 04 guys, they were like, what did Ainge say? So one of the guys didn't know. And it was like, he's talking about the crowd at Sanford and stuff like that with Georgia. And everybody almost was like, Georgia wasn't that loud to us. I said, now, 07 at Alabama was loud. We had a couple guys bring up South Carolina too, Will. And, of course, the Swamp is always one of those places. And 05 at LSU. So I'll say this. I know for a fact they're going to create headaches at South Carolina this weekend. Next weekend. Yeah. If they can get on track this week by getting a win against Missouri and going into South Carolina, and they'll probably do a blackout or something crazy like that. But it's going to be a big test, Kayla, to your point, to kind of correct some stuff.
TCU at 9-0 has trailed in 5 consecutive games. They've won the last 3 by double digits. They have a 2-game lead over the rest of the Big 12. That is horrific right now. When you look at Oklahoma State and what they've looked like, when you look at Texas, Baylor inconsistent, Oklahoma inconsistent, the transitive property is not doing TCU any favors. They've got to go to Texas and to Baylor to finish off the season, including as a touchdown underdog this weekend in Austin. If TCU is ranked behind 1-loss Alabama last week, TCU has to be behind 1-loss Tennessee this week. And I think the committee is going to contradict themselves tonight and probably have TCU 4th and Tennessee 5th. And I don't think that makes sense.
Yeah. I won't necessarily knock TCU. I know, of course, they probably hadn't played much of a schedule and an opponent. We'll see what the rest of their schedule look like with Texas coming up.
TCU has 4 ranked wins this year.
So how you gonna knock them?
The problem is they put Alabama in front of TCU in the first place.
Exactly.
That's the issue. They shouldn't have done that last week.
Yep. Because if one is true, then
with Bama
the
being
other's
ahead,
true.
Bama should not have been ahead of TCU last week.
I think they should have been, but you have to continue with that precedent now. And I don't think they're going to.
TCU's undefeated
because they're a better team.
Ranked wins.
Because I don't care.
Then we go back to the same problem we always have with these rankings.
Yeah,
is that it's beauty contest. That's what it is.
Here's the thing,
which was why Tennessee got to number 1 is because they had the shiniest offense of anybody in the country.
Alabama was a 10-point favorite in Austin, Texas, and TCU is a 7-point underdog this weekend in Austin, Texas.
Hey,
that's all you need to know.
College football rankings, the first college football playoff rankings, a lot of it is also based on, TV and stirring up the TV matchups. And you knew Alabama and LSU were playing that week. Because a lot of people were questioning LSU at 10.
Yeah.
And some of the names, the bigger names, they wanted to pop. It's like, okay, this game's happening this weekend, the bigger brands. That's still a part of it, I think, when it comes to the college football playoff rankings and the way that they put those teams in there.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely going to sift itself out. You got, of course, LSU still got a couple challenging games. Bama still has a couple challenging games. Like, we got to look at what, Ole Miss is going to do at some point.
I still don't even know what that team really is.
What an Ole Miss is?
It's tough.
They're a team with a pretty average quarterback.
Where did LSU go up to in the AP? 6?
I think so. I can't remember.
We'll see where LSU moves
I
up
voted.
tonight.
I can't remember where I put them.
LSU went 7.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up to 7.
Right, there we go.
When we come back, what ESPN has to say about Tennessee's playoff chances that are good news for Vols fans, because despite the loss, your playoff odds, according to ESPN's playoff predictor, went up. And Tennessee now is among the top couple of teams on best chances to make the college football playoff. That's next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 104.5 The Zone.
Are you sick or tired of living with that constant pain in your knees and back? You know, joint pain doesn't just keep you from doing what you love. It affects your job, your relationships, even simple things like getting dressed. Hey, it's Ramon Falston. It's time to call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics uses advanced regenerative medicine to restore and repair damaged joint tissue, giving you your life back. Hips, shoulders, elbows, they can all be treated with natural biologics from your own body. Powerful healing agents that are highly concentrated. And if you're tired of the steroid shots that don't work, or if you're trying to avoid surgery, call QC Kinetics now to schedule your free consultation. Learn about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments for pain caused by arthritis or injury. Listen, there's no drugs, no pain meds, and no downtime. This is an all-natural treatment that can get you lasting relief. People here are raving about their results. Appointments are available for this coming week. QC Kinetics, located in Nashville, Clarksville, and Murfreesboro. And the number is 615-249-4024. Again, 615-249-4024.
It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. At Ramon, Kayla, and Will on Twitter. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling with you. Tennessee this weekend loses a bad one at Athens, but sees its playoff chances go up. That's hard to do. Tennessee's chances to make the college football playoff went from 48.7% in Week 8, 51.4% according to ESPN in Week 9, 63% in Week 10, and up to 64% in week number 11, according to ESPN's Football Power Index. The Vols, at this point of the exercise, have the third best chance of making the college football playoff, according to ESPN, behind Ohio State and Georgia.
Hey, just win, baby, win. Everything handles itself, man. I thought this was this is what Bama did a couple years ago, so wasn't it? Like, it's a matter of just getting in the show. Like, that's what you're looking forward to when it comes down to this team. I really am looking forward to what this bounce back is going to look like.
Yep.
You know, if they're capable of it. One loss, of course, SEC loss. I don't even want to use it. We're playing with house money stuff anymore, because now it's the portion of this in which we got to say, okay, now it's time to compete. That's where I'm at with it, Will, Kayla, listeners.
Yeah. When it comes down to it, like you said, the next few weeks, anything can shake out. These undefeated teams, especially when you look at the Ohio State-Michigan game that still has to come, I would guess one of them are going to cancel each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. I don't think that they're going to put two. They're both undefeated.
No, I was just saying, how late in the season is that?
Well, that's the last game.
It's the last game.
That's the last game,
Always is.
the big game, yeah.
Yep.
That's the last game. So one of them are going to cancel each other out. TCU, that's still up in the air.
Yep.
Yeah. So tonight, you expect it to be who? Georgia?
Georgia's number one, 100%.
Yeah, Georgia's number one.
Ohio
State.
Michigan?
I think Michigan's third.
I think Michigan probably third, and then
You say it should be Tennessee.
I think Tennessee's the number 4 team. I don't think they will be tonight, because I think the committee will, as you mentioned, Kayla, I don't think they're talking about, hey, what game's on ESPN this weekend that we can hype up? But I think the hype of College Game Day in Austin for TCU and Texas,
it's there.
Slants the thinking a little bit.
It is.
I think TCU is 4th. I don't think they should be. TCU has trailed in 5 straight games against bad Big 12 teams, and they've played backup quarterbacks in about half of those games. Mm-hmm. Against Kansas State, against Oklahoma State at one point there. TCU does not impress me. They deserve credit for winning against 4 ranked teams. That's fine. They trailed at one point against Texas Tech over the weekend again.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did.
And came back and handily won that one. I just think the committee is going to break the precedent tonight. And I think Tennessee will be 5th. I think Tennessee should be 4th. The team I'm more concerned about from Tennessee's perspective is one-loss Michigan. Because if one-loss Michigan loses close at Ohio State, they have a better case to me than certainly Oregon. Oregon, I don't understand the hype around Oregon, considering their loss to Georgia at the beginning of the season.
Because I've watched a lot of Oregon football.
They're different.
Look, guys, and I don't even like Oregon. I hate Oregon. Being a Coug, I despise Oregon.
Yeah.
However, I don't ever think I say this, but Bo Nix, again, he is completely different from the Bo Nix you guys knew at Auburn. And that what fans were watching down here at Auburn.
Yeah.
And he's gotten comfortable up there. I think last week again, I think he rushed for 3 touchdowns. Get me those stats. I don't want to say what
He had a receiving touchdown over the weekend.
Yeah, the week before he had 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing. This week, I think he did the same type of thing. So I'm not saying Oregon's a college football playoff team, but I think they deserve a little more credit than they're getting.
Yeah.
They don't get in over Tennessee, that's for sure.
No.
I agree
with
the point
you on
I'm
that.
making is that they're like Heather Dinich wrote an article on ESPN.com yesterday that said the SEC's best chance at getting 2 teams in the playoff is LSU beating Georgia, is what she wrote. That is a wild thing to say.
LSU beating Georgia.
Wild,
Wowzers.
yes. Because they'd be the first 2-loss team to ever make the playoff, and they would just jump a Tennessee team that they lost to by 27 points. No.
Can we all just unite in this one thing, though?
What's that?
Bama got 2 losses, y'all.
Bama and Clemson's season is over.
Yep.
Over. Heather Dinich also saying that Clemson could still get in with 1 loss in the same article. So that kind of, again, No chance.
Oh, yeah. Bo had a rushing TD, passing TD, receiving TD.
Yes.
There we go.
That's right.
I knew it was a 3 and some. It's been 3s the last 2 weekends for him.
When we come back, halftime of the show, as we take a look around at the headlines around college football, the biggest fraud in football falls in South Bend. And the Alabama Crimson Tide are basically just looking at a citrus bowl. You can't sell citrus without Saban. Coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, 104.5 The Zone.
It's Ramon Foster. Let me tell you about the best bar in Hermitage, and it is Craftsman on the Hill. It's located at 3424 Lebanon Pike in Hermitage. Every day of the week, they have something for you. There is a whole lot of parking, so you and your friends can go there, park, be fine, get in, get out, enjoy your time there. Watch whatever game you want to because they have plenty of TVs. One of the best menus around also when it comes to bar food. They're taking it to an all-new level featuring their delicious smoked wings, okay, from burgers, quesadillas, chicken sandwiches, to homemade brisket chili every single day. Listen to me, Monday night trivia night, you missed that. Tuesday night karaoke, there's poker tournaments throughout the week. There's plenty of TVs to watch your favorite sports or your favorite sports team. Listen to me, the best part about this, locally owned and operated with new management. Your favorite beers, spirits, and plenty of nightly drink and food specials. Go visit Craftsman on the Hill and tell them that Ramon sent you. Again, address 3424 Lebanon Pike, located in Hermitage.
It is 8 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. After a 3-5-1 record, mired in a 3-game losing streak, and significant quarterback issues, the Indianapolis Colts fired head coach Frank Reich yesterday. In a stunning decision, the Colts hired former All-Pro center Jeff Saturday to be the interim head coach. Saturday has no prior NFL coaching experience. The Baltimore Ravens have won 3 in a row after defeating the New Orleans Saints 27-13 on Monday Night Football. College basketball yesterday. Number 11 Tennessee defeated Tennessee Tech 75-43. Memphis with the win over Jerry Stackhouse and the Commodores 76-67. And Belmont 70, Ohio 69. Cade Tyson made a three-pointer at the buzzer for the victory. Also victorious MTSU and TSU. Big women's hoops game tonight. Number 5 Lady Vols at number 14 Ohio State. And the Predators continue their West Coast swing. They will play at the Seattle Kraken. 9 o'clock will be the opening face-off this evening. Preds have won 2 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your own for the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Tuesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Crew's all here. 11-year NFL veteran Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling, and the best producer in the world makes the show happen. His name is Jonathan Schaefer.
The best producer in the world.
That voice coming up at 9:20. Audio adrenaline, courtesy of one Ron Slay in hour number 4 to finish off our Tuesday show. Eric Cain of VolQuest.com covering Tennessee for On 3 coming up in 15 minutes as we talk Vols and Bulldogs. But for the first time since 2011, the Clemson Tigers suffered their worst loss to an unranked opponent, to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And the Irish made Clemson feel at home because they rushed the field after the game.
I'm sorry, the noise that's coming out of Ramon, it's like the...
Because it's me
all
exhaling.
morning,
Oh
right?
my God,
It's like he's in yoga or something.
My wife tells me that a lot. She's like, "Mom, you're super dramatic." I'm like, "What are you
It's
talking
so
about?"
funny.
I am the ultimate ad-libber. I have to shut my mic off sometimes because I'm constantly like, "What? Huh? What?
Come on, man.
I know that, guys.
I have never been called dramatic.
Let me work through this, okay? I'm all,
Except every day.
Except on days that ended Y.
I had a catchphrase I used all the time. Like, I had somebody tell me, like, dude, are you trolling me or what? Because they be telling a story and they be in a situation where, well, I'd be like, for real? And they be like, you serious? I'm like, no, I'm encouraging the story. Keep going. Like, I'm that guy when it comes down to people telling their stories. I'm like, what? For real? So, my bad. You said that
Sorry,
about since 2000, and I broke Kayla. She was like, look at this.
It just cracks me up.
Darth Vader. Darth Foster.
My bad. I'm going to step away from the mic.
You're Darth Foster.
I am Darth Foster. But you know what? With that being said, I was born.
Here we go.
I love that. God, I need to watch that movie if I ever have time. But with that being said, Clemson losing like that. Mm-hmm. Everything is right in South Bend now, right?
Clemson fell behind 28-0. Surrendered 200. There it is again. Surrendered 263 rushing yards and allowed touchdowns on offense, defense, and special teams. Yahtzee.
You guys suck.
Then now Jonathan Schaefer's just going to play reactions from you. If you're not going to actually react in person, Schaefer's just going to play drops he has of you. Tigers did avoid their first shutout since 2003. This is great.
I actually like that one. Hit that again.
Oh, yep. All right.
Go off, King.
Jonathan Schaefer said, I am the captain now. I decide when I play sounds of your voice, not me.
No, I was going to another drop, and then he did that to me.
As I said, though, worst loss to an unranked opponent since falling by 24 to NC State in 2011.
You can go eat rocks.
Jeff Dabo can.
You got a lot of them on that board.
Eat rocks.
I do.
I mean, if any of us ever oversleeps, Jonathan Schaefer could just play sounds of our voices in different ways and just like give us opinions.
You could put a whole show together with
You
that.
really
Now,
could.
it might be not for the family audience.
That was trash.
Again, that's Ramon Foster in the past
All right.
saying something.
You want to hear a little secret?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Previous show I worked on in this town years and years and years ago. The host used to annoy me.
Oh.
Unlike you, Will. We're all right for now.
Oh, I was going to say, so I don't annoy you? That's great.
For now. So that host, what I ended up doing was I ended up getting about 30 to 40 different sounds that I put on the board. And then when he started saying really stupid stuff, I would play the sounds so that they would have a conversation with themselves.
Oh, boy.
So that you couldn't even tell that he was talking. The bites would talk to each other.
That is a whole nother level of producing
So
right
you've
there,
been
folks.
forewarned.
Good to know. That's one person I will not make mad in this building. I'm okay making everybody else mad, but I don't want to make Jonathan Schaefer mad. So the LSU Tigers help out Tennessee. The Clemson Tigers help out Tennessee. The last time LSU beat Alabama by a single point, like it did over the weekend, was 1988. LSU's first win over Alabama in Tiger Stadium since 2010. Brian Kelly was very happy about it after the game. And this is a situation where both of those programs took a step forward despite the fact that Brian Kelly left Notre Dame.
Yeah, that was the craziest part about this weekend was the fact that it was all having to do kind of with what happened with Notre Dame. And now, Brian Kelly's in a new place, starting to find his way. I thought the interview that Holly Rowe did at the end of the game was phenomenal.
Really good.
I thought it was phenomenal. I mean, you get a Brian Kelly who never shows emotions, shows a lot of other things, doesn't show emotion usually, fake accents. But that was a good interview, and he showed emotion, and you could tell how much that meant to him just to be able to say, okay, the acceptance is starting to happen.
Wow.
And he's starting to see his program take a turn in the right direction. The guys are believing. But, same up there in Notre Dame. After playing Ohio State close in the beginning of the year, they had some really tough games. Quickly fell out of the top 25, and now they're kind of working their way back, and you can start to see some positives with that program too.
Did you see the locker room also?
Yeah, after the game, one of the players told Brian Kelly, "This is why you came here."
This is why you came
talking,
here.
And he said, "Hell yeah, it is," and showed a lot more emotion than I've ever seen him show in that moment too.
That to me was even bigger. I was just like, oh hell, here's another juggernaut we got to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, you got players believing in him already after what is this 7, 8, 9 weeks. And I'm just thinking to myself, well, this is what they said he could do, and he got the players. Like, because the biggest recruiting tool you can have is guys that choose to either stay or play for you in this era of football, and that was powerful for what that kid told him right there. Go off, King.
Jaden Daniels threw for 182 yards and 2 touchdowns. He ran for 95 yards and a score. He looks like a completely different player than the one that started the season against Florida State and then continued and played against Tennessee about a month ago.
But the other part of this was, though, too, that defense swarmed. They got after him. They had some playmakers on the LSU defense. Like, home field does mean something in college ball. It is like a huge component of what is and what ain't in college football. And night games at Death Valley, I think we saw it last night. And, of course, as you said, though, too, Will, they've gotten better. They've received coaching a whole lot better, too, when it comes down to this LSU outfit. All the celebrities in the building. I think they had a ceremony for Whitworth.
Shaq was there.
Yep.
Crazy. You see the Cuban link on his neck? Golly. Shaq's 7 foot.
I think Jason Taylor's son plays.
Mason Taylor.
Yeah, Mason plays. And so they showed him and his mom. I thought the moment was great that they captured after the game with him and his mom hugging. And just he was so clearly just that win for a lot of these players emotionally. It took a lot out of them, and not in a bad way. But I thought that moment was really great, the capturing of that.
To have a Hall of Fame guy have your kid as a freshman not only score the game tying touchdown, but the 2.2. I'm not even. Yes, I'm gonna go this route. Sometimes you're just born with it. Mason Taylor,
Right.
Born with it.
he is born with it. Like, and that's all I can say in that moment. But the pass from Daniels, just everything about it was good. And I'm just thinking, y'all know I love the pile on Alabama and just what they are, but their Jimmys and Joes hadn't shown up in times in which you needed them to as of late this year. I'll say nobody's trying to tick off Nick Saban as Lane Kiffin said, right? With how he goes about it, but you got to kind of look at him and say to yourself, I know what you did, and I respect everything that you did, sir. But there's a lot of people at the door right now that love to have a conversation with you, Nick Saban, and the Alabama football program.
Yeah.
And that starts with LSU. That's Ole Miss. That's watching what Georgia did with them last year. That's, Tennessee getting a win on them. Like, it's those types of things where I'm like, as a fan of the sport, I heard more people say, I'm talking to a guy from Louisville last night, and he's like, but boy, we're seeing Alabama lose. And I'm like, you're not even in the same conference. You know what I'm saying? And yes, it's good to be heavy as the head that wears the crown, right? But this is what college football is. So watching these moving parts kind of move around a little bit, I'm excited for whatever college football is going to be moving forward.
And by the way, keep your little eye on Bill O'Brien. I don't think he's going to be around much longer.
B.O.B.? Oh, wow.
I saw somebody tweet over the weekend. I think people underestimated the fact that Alabama keeping both its coordinators from last year was a good thing. Because they so often lose both of their coordinators.
Yeah.
And they kept both of them. And now the fans are like, no, not like that.
Yeah, they're like get him out.
615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. We go to Jeremy on line 1. What's going on, Jeremy?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I think Bill O'Brien's a walking nightmare about how down he is on any offense that he steps foot on. We really got to thank him for whatever it was that display he put on in Houston to put them where they are now. Now, you guys were talking about the Notre Dame Clemson game, Ramon, and I could hear the distress in your voice. Imagine mine when I missed an 11-game parlay because of it after I'd picked LSU to beat Bama.
Oh, no.
Because I'm sitting there watching it on the score, like, all right, it's close. They might come back, and then like, nah, they ain't coming back.
Jeremy, did you have a cash out option in this parlay?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Oh,
man, that sucks.
How much was the payoff, dude, if you don't mind saying?
It was over $1,000.
Dang.
Wow. That sucks.
Tell the kids Christmas is canceled.
Easy.
There's some more games out there.
I figured that they would be able to hold it together. Just like Notre Dame lost to Marshall,
right?
Year, and I'm thinking, all right, Clemson's going to go down eventually, but maybe it won't be this game. Well, it ended up being that game. So.
Thank you for the call, Jeremy.
All right, I love y'all later.
I hate that for you,
Condolences.
Jeremy. That was trash.
R.I.P. in peace. Again, Jonathan Schaefer, if you're not watching on Zone TV and you can't see, half the things Ramon has said in this segment have been recordings of previous shows that Jonathan Schaefer has played.
Go off, King.
Including that one. 615-737-1045 is the number. This is why he's the best producer in the world. I mean, I just, if you ever wonder why.
The best producer in the world!
The world, Craig.
The world.
And there it is. Eric Cain of VolQuest joins the conversation when we come back. Where does he have Tennessee in his college football playoff rankings tonight? We'll get his thoughts coming up next on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone.
Hey, it's Ramon Foster for Window Nation. Get ready to have a blast of winter. Yeah, the next brutal blast of wicked, wild, and windy weather is on its way. It's coming up this weekend, y'all, and I don't know how to feel about it, okay? But let me tell you this. If you touch your windows and they're a little cold and you're trying to figure out, man, I'm probably losing a whole lot of energy. Well, let me tell you this. Call Window Nation today. You buy 2 windows and you get 2 windows free with no interest payments until 2025. With Window Nation's precision installation, your new windows will lock out that cold, blocking even the smallest drafts and keeping your energy bills lower despite the ever-rising costs, okay? Again, 0% interest until 2025. You can save some of that cash and go spend some money on your boo thing or somebody. You know what I'm saying? The kids want that Xbox. It's time to get them. I saw them in the stores the other day. Guess what you can do with the money you're saving from energy energy lost, you can go get them the Xbox for Christmas. Again, the number is 866-90-NATION, or you can go online at windownation.com. 2 free windows for every 2 you buy with 0% interest until 2025. Again, call 866-90-NATION or visit windownation.com and make sure you tell them that Ramon sent you.
Ramon, Kayla, and Will is powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors in Nashville. With Fall for Life, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, I'm Will Bowling. Talking Tennessee and Georgia, looking ahead to the college football playoff rankings coming out tonight as we go to the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline and check in with Eric Cain of VolQuest.com. What's going on, Eric? How are you?
Hey, doing well, guys. How are y'all?
Good.
We're good. Do you expect Tennessee to remain in the top 4 tonight, or does TCU grab that last spot over the Vols?
You know, coming back from Athens on Saturday, I was dead set Tennessee was going to be number 4. I couldn't see TCU jumping up there and taking it from Tennessee because of the Alabama loss, because of Clemson losing. But the more I've sat back and thought about it the last couple of days, I mean, Tennessee's going to win these next 3 games. It's a very real chance TCU will lose this weekend. College game day is going to be down there in Austin. It's a made-for-TV product, so I don't know. I could see TCU swinging in there. And they've got a good resume, and they're undefeated. You got to give them your due, potentially. So I would have Tennessee number 4. I think Tennessee is one of the top 4 teams in the country. You lost to Georgia, but it won't shock me tonight if Tennessee is number 5 behind TCU.
Eric, was there one thing that surprised you the most about Tennessee's loss to Georgia over the weekend at Athens?
I guess just not you knew Georgia was a good football team, obviously. You knew Georgia was going to come back out and have a good game plan for Tennessee's offense and Kirby Smart. But I guess just the thing that surprised me, Tennessee was never able to counter what they saw from Georgia and go figure something out. I mean, Georgia came out there essentially said, hey, you know, if you want to beat me, beat me. I'm going to play man coverage out here on the perimeter, and I'm going to hold you all day long. And I'll get some penalties, but I'm not going to let you get the big play. And, Tennessee never got the big play, right? And so, I mean, the pressure was there. I mean, the offensive line obviously didn't have the best day, but Hendon Hooker, I don't think, helped them out a lot with holding on to the football and trying to be selective and not just, taking a chance every now and again. So I guess to answer your question, the biggest thing that surprised me was Tennessee never countering what they saw from Georgia, because they've done so every step of the way so far this year. When Nick Saban said, you're not going to throw it over me, I'm going to go dime, Tennessee ran the football effectively, and that's just one example. So we'll have to see how they respond after Saturday.
Do you expect, Eric Cain, a big transition in the way Heupel runs his offense? I know he's revamped it, retweaked some things, added some stuff throughout this course of getting to where this team is now. And as you said, the idea of the deep ball wasn't just there the way it has been in other games. Was this a growth type of experience for Heupel in this offense, or Galesh in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to learn a lot. The question was asked during the press conference yesterday was, you always hear that you learn a lot about your team after a loss. Is that true, or is that just coach speak? And he said, well, hey, I think you learn about your team a lot after every single game you're out there. So I think everybody's going to learn something from this. You go back and you hit the tape. You know how those Monday mornings are. Ramon, after a loss, you go in there and hit the tape. It's not fun at all, but you learn from it. And I don't think you're going to change anything offensively in terms of Tennessee's going to continue to go out there and do what Tennessee does. Now, no, Tennessee will not see a better opponent defensively than Georgia all season long. I mean, Missouri and Vanderbilt and South Carolina are not going to have guys out there that are going to win one-on-one matchups the entire game. So I think it is a learning experience, but Tennessee's not going to stray from what it tries to do, and that's find those mismatches, exploit them, and try to run the offense with tempo. And that's another thing, guys. Tennessee never got into its tempo on Saturday. There was an injury here, a penalty here, a false start here. Tennessee never got into its tempo yesterday, and it was just, there was just no rhythm offensively whatsoever.
Let me just play a little devil's advocate here. As you say, nobody's Georgia's defense or whatever we're going to see moving forward, but just in general, the night game in South Carolina, is that something that you see as far as the crowd noise, being on a road night game that could affect this team, or they try to do similar things as Georgia did?
Well, I think, copycat league, of course. You're going to try to exploit and do what Georgia did against Tennessee to try to beat them. Missouri's going to try to do a little bit of that. And by the way, Missouri's defense is pretty stingy. Missouri's played some really good defense this year, but I see Tennessee having no issue there, especially early on. But as far as South Carolina, we'll have to see. Tennessee's got to handle the road environment a lot better because, of course, it did not handle the road environment whatsoever. There was 8 pre-snap penalties. 7 of which were false starts. That's not winning football. So, Hendon Hooker tried to downplay it a little bit yesterday and saying that in terms of the crowd noise affecting the snap count, saying that everybody should be watching the ball and not his cadence. That may be true, but also, you're also trying to listen, and that helps as well. So we'll see. Tennessee's got to get better, and Tennessee's got to try and block that out moving forward, because that was a major factor. Any way you want to spin it, that was a major factor on Saturday.
Yeah, coming into that game, Hendon Hooker led the country scoring a touchdown in 20 straight games, obviously not one in that game. And you had mentioned holding on to the ball too long, which he kind of didn't want to admit fully. What exactly do you feel like the issue was there, and how much can he learn from that situation?
Yeah, Hendon said yesterday he was just trying to make some plays, and you can't fault him there. Of course, he's a playmaker. He's a competitor. He's trying to go out there and make some plays, and I think that Georgia did a really good job of keeping everything in front of it. I don't think Hendon wanted to put the football in harm's way. There was a couple of times where he was out of the pocket, and he should have threw the football away. And he took some unnecessary hits and a sack here and a sack there. There were a couple of times too where Hendon should have just took off and ran. Ramon, they didn't have many design quarterback runs in this football game, and that's kind of surprising to me, because I think that's one of the best weapons Hendon Hooker has. So I just think he was being selective. He did not want to turn the football over. Couple that with trying to make a play, and that's why I think he hung in there in the pocket and was a little indecisive at points in times. But that clock's got to. Tennessee gave up 6 sacks, and those were not all on the offensive line. Now, again, give Georgia credit. Georgia brought pressure with his front four all night long. Jalen Carter was really good. And then you brought Buller off the edge there from that defensive back blitz, and whenever he stepped up, somebody got him right there in the middle as well. So there was pressure all night long. I think all that just kind of contributed to maybe him being a little gun shy in the pocket.
I think a lot of people too this week have been saying, well, if you put it in a neutral site, what would happen now? In your opinion, is Tennessee right up there with Georgia still, or have they definitely taken a few steps back?
Well, I don't think anybody can say that Tennessee's right up there with Georgia right now. After seeing Saturday, right? Now, that does not mean that I don't think Tennessee can beat Georgia. That does not mean I don't think Tennessee is one of the best teams in the country, because those two things are still true. But, if you take Tennessee and Georgia, put them on the neutral field right now, I'd like to see it again. I'd like to see Tennessee go back out there and see what it can do against Georgia. But I'm not going to sit here and say, Tennessee will definitely win, because I watched the football game on Saturday, and Georgia was really good. At certain points, you got to tip your cap, right? So, we'll see. Georgia was a top 3 showdown. Tennessee got its tail whipped. It just kind of is what it is. But I still think Tennessee has got a ton to play for this year. I still think Tennessee is one of the best 4 teams in the country. And let's see what happens and how you respond. Georgia and Alabama played last year, and Georgia got its tail whipped the first time, and we all know what happened the second time. So there's a lot of more football left to play.
Eric Cain, VolQuest.com, with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. Eric, just 17 completions for Stetson Bennett, but certainly hurt Tennessee with his legs outside of just the touchdown run. How many positives do you take away for this Tennessee defense out of this performance, or was that second half for Georgia just more about them protecting the lead and being really vanilla on offense?
Well, it started to rain as well, and Georgia had a lead, so trying to milk that clock. They had one drive in the third quarter that lasted 8 minutes and 44 seconds. So you got to take all that into account. I will say this. I thought the defense, it played okay. Did it play well enough to win the football game? No, I won't go that far. And every play counts, but Tennessee's defense gave up 3 plays on the night, and they were 3 big old chunk plays, and all 3 of those led to scoring plays. So on the first drive, you had an Arian Smith 52-yard reception, longest reception of the season for Georgia to a wide receiver, and Brandon Turnage had great coverage. In fact, you could have called him for defensive pass interference, but he was all over the guy, and the guy just made a play. What are you going to do, right? The second big play was actually the touchdown pass after the punt from the own end zone, and it was McConkey, beat Danico Slaughter on a double move. And then the third big play was McIntosh out of the backfield, just running right by Jalen McCullough on a wheel route. You take away those 3 plays, and do you go down there and score those touchdowns? I don't know. Again, those plays count, right? But Tennessee gave up 3 big plays and missed a tackle on the backfield on Stetson Bennett on that touchdown run. A lot of ifs, ands, and buts for sure. But I thought Tennessee's defense did settle in. I thought they were pretty decent against the run. I thought the linebackers played a pretty good game. Yeah. But Georgia just got out there, took advantage of short fields, took advantage of momentum early on, built the lead, and then were able to be a little bit more selective in its play calling. But still, I think Tennessee's defense was okay. Didn't play well enough to win. you just got to limit the big plays because Tennessee's defense has been pretty good at not allowing the big plays all year long until Saturday.
And, Eric, it is a bit surprising to see Tennessee not meet the moment in a game like this as much as we talk about the calm and the poise of this team, and specifically Hendon Hooker. I thought the 8 pre-snap penalties were shocking from this Tennessee team because we really haven't seen anything like that all season.
Yeah, it was not Tennessee football whatsoever. You're exactly right. I mean, 9 penalties overall in the football game, 8 of them pre-snap, 7 of them false starts. And, I mean, again, I know the crowd environment was – I mean, Georgia did what it was supposed to do. Those fans were loud, and they made it tough on Tennessee's offense. And you had Darnell Wright, you had Gerald Mincey, you had J.J. Crawford, you had all these guys that kept, false starting. And not only that, Will, but the false starts came in the most impromptu times. First downs, third downs, 3rd and 2. 2 false starts makes it 3rd and 12 and then 19. I mean, it's just drive killers, right? And so very uncharacteristic like for Tennessee, for sure. And so you just got to find a way to beat it. I mean, Ramon, if I can ask you a question here, I mean, you've played in hostile environments. You played in crowds where you can't quite hear anything. I mean, and you've had those games. How do you get better so that those things don't happen in the future?
Create a system for it more than anything, man. Like understanding, and you overwork it in practice to where you can acknowledge that it's going to be loud. You can say it's going to be loud. And honestly, just saying to you, it's okay if we have one. We can't have multiple. The ones that kind of set you back because, as you said earlier, we never caught a rhythm when it came down to the flow of this game at all. Whether it was 3 and outs, whether it was sacks, or whether it was those false starts, you got to kind of acknowledge it throughout the week. Make it one of those situations to where the defense is lining up off sides just so you can get your kick. Because you said, Hendon said, look at the ball. As offensive lineman, I got this trench monster on the other side, and I'm supposed to look at the ball. There's got to be a different method to how you go about that. Whether it's, head between the legs before you snap the ball, or if you just got to be loud enough for the clap if you're going to, do that method of snapping the ball too. It's acknowledgement of it more than anything to me, Cain.
Yeah, so we acknowledge it, come back and work on it. And
yep.
I do think it's good that Tennessee is at home this week. It's senior day. I mean, you're favored by 3 touchdowns, of course, kind of get back on track. But Will, to answer your question, man, it was very surprising for sure. And I think Tennessee will respond the right way because that leadership inside that locker room is really good. So I'm intrigued to see what that looks like.
I just saw this and it reminded me of it. What about the referee holding up the play and then having the offensive lineman jump? I thought if the ref was in the way, there was no need because in my history of at the line of scrimmage, you can move around as much as you want to as long as you're not set. I can understand why the ref was in the way and they still call a false start.
Yeah, I mean, I've been asked that a couple of times since the game, and I got to be honest with you, I didn't catch it in real time, and I didn't catch it when I went back and rewatched the game. So, but I've had 5 or 6 people ask me about it, and I've asked some people, and they missed it as well. So I don't know. I mean, to my understanding, if the umpire's sitting up there holding up the play because there's a substitution or whatever the case is, I mean, there shouldn't be a false start penalty happen during that time period. So I have no clue, but apparently that did happen. I think it was Gerald Mincey that got called for it in that situation, but I didn't see it, so I have no clue.
Do we understand also why Mincey and Crawford are swapping?
Well, I mean, it was Mincey there for a long time, and then he got hurt, and Crawford came in here and played really well. And Gerald Mincey's the better pass blocker. J.J. Crawford's the better run blocker. I don't know why they continue to flip back and forth. They continue to say throughout preseason that they're both going to play, they're both important, they're yada yada yada. I mean, I know a lot of that's coach talk, but I mean, you got settled in there, and it was Gerald Mincey for the first 4 weeks. But kind of since he went out in that LSU game, it's been a lot of J.J. Crawford. So I don't know why they keep flipping them back and forth, but they do. That's really the only spot on the offensive line that they're kind of tag teaming now. And it was a lot of J.J. Crawford in the second quarter on throughout the rest of the game. But you've seen that a couple of times the last 2 weeks. So I don't know. They like them both, but I'm a believer that on the offensive line you need 5 guys.
Eric Cain with us this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. On the way out, Eric, what is the one thing you want to see Tennessee improve on the most this weekend at home against Missouri?
Yeah, just get back to playing Tennessee's offense. And Missouri's defense has been stingy, and we'll continue to break it down as the week goes on. But I mean, they've allowed 17 points in conference play. It's been really impressive. Now they haven't seen the offense that the tempo and the airing it out type situations like Tennessee does. with the balance of the run game. So, it'll be a good game, I feel like, in terms of seeing Tennessee try to exploit that. But, Missouri's a competent opponent, especially defensively. But get back to playing, your Tennessee football. You're going to make a penalty here and there, but you can't have 8 pre-snap penalties. You can't have turnovers on the offensive end. You can't go until the fourth quarter without scoring a touchdown. I was talking to one of my coworkers earlier this week, and I'm just like, man, I'd be shocked if Tennessee doesn't come out there and score 21 in the first quarter and jump out to a lead early on, just because we've seen it so many different times. So how do you respond, Tennessee? And I think it's going to respond in the right way, and that's what I'm kind of looking forward to seeing on Saturday.
He can't, real quick, too, most important, D tackles as far as pressure on the defensive line for this team moving forward, or cornerbacks as far as recruiting goes?
Oh, so defensive tackles recruiting in terms of getting the pressure on the quarterback or cornerback recruiting?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both very important, but I would have to say cornerbacks. Tennessee's got a couple of good cornerbacks in this class coming in, which I think fans will be really excited about, and Jordan Matthews and Christian Conyer and Ricky Gibson and all that. But lock it down. But then again, it's all tied together, as you know. I mean, you got to get pressure up there from the interior. You see what Georgia did on Saturday. A lot of times they were just 4-man pressures and they were getting home, right? And that allowed those quarterbacks to play man-to-man on the outside. I'll always go corner because I think it's the hardest position in all of sports. But Tennessee needs them. Needs a whole lot of both of those at that position.
Yeah.
Eric Cain covers Tennessee for VolQuest.com. Find him on Twitter @_Cainer. Appreciate the time as always.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. There is Eric Cain with us this morning on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. When we come back, a trend for the Georgia Bulldogs in big games that is surprising to me. The stats never impress you, despite the fact that the performance always seems to impress you for Kirby Smart's team. We'll dive into the numbers when we come back on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, 104.5 The Zone. Tuesday edition of Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Appreciate Eric Cain giving us a couple of minutes talking Tennessee and Georgia. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling with you. Jonathan Schaefer making the show happen. Saturday in Sanford Stadium, Stetson Bennett, we mentioned, completed just 17 passes. One run that resulted in a very big touchdown early in that game. There were no 100-yard receivers. No 100-yard rushers, no pick sixes, no long kick returns, but Georgia smoked Tennessee a lot worse than the score suggested.
Yeah.
It is incredible to me looking at the stat sheet of that Georgia team, how unimpressive the stats look on both sides of the ball, and then you watch them and how impressive they really are. I don't remember anything like it. Mm-hmm. Because even Alabama, Devontae Smith won the Heisman because he had so many yards. I mean, I know that's a little bit of a newer age Alabama, and when Kirby Smart was there, it was a little more old school football in the way that they won while he was the defensive coordinator. But is there any other team whose stats are so misleading, and then you watch them and you're like, oh, that guy has like 20 tackles this year, and yet is a 5-star linebacker and just beat you in open space.
But that's why I think a lot of people were hesitant to put them at number one before this game because of things like that. And I even know somebody in the chat today, when I said Georgia played its best game, they're like, well, no, they could have played better. Yeah, of course they could have played better, but of the season against the number one ranked offense that's clearly been plowing over defenses, I feel like Georgia played a pretty dang good game.
Yeah,
if you look at the whole schedule, I feel like that's got to be their best game they played against a high opponent like the number one Vols.
Yeah, because if you look at the Missouri game, that was just a badly played game against them as far as SEC opponents. I think when you look at the Oregon game to start the season off, Oregon was just not Oregon. They were trash at that moment. They got bullied. They got beat down, and Georgia just ran away with it. To say you had good on good this past weekend, despite what the score, like what you thought of Tennessee or what you thought of Georgia, like those were two good teams going at each other, and Georgia showed why they should be number one. To your point, Kayla, just they've been doing it. It's just, well, no, they ain't really do it. You just needed to see it against some people rise to the occasion. I think Georgia rose up this past weekend.
Georgia now is 9-0 and has 2 wins over top 8 opponents, Tennessee and Oregon, by a combined score of 76-16. It's the only stat you need if you're a Bulldogs fan right now.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. But the question is now for Tennessee, how far can scheme take them with as big of a talent gap as it had over the weekend? And I sent out the tweet on Saturday night and said, I would like to see Tennessee and Georgia play on a neutral field. And a lot of Georgia fans, like I said, took that as making the excuse of, oh, you just think Tennessee would win the rematch. Well, no, that's not what I said. It's not what I meant either. And I understand people taking it that way right after a game.
Course.
You know, you've got a character limit. You can only preface so many things that you say. But what I mean by that is, can Tennessee, without 8 pre-snap penalties and beating itself, still stay close enough to Georgia? I don't think they could this year. But here's one thing I do know. Georgia got beat by 3 scores to Alabama last year in the SEC championship and turned around and beat them in the national championship.
Right.
Now, granted, a big reason for that was John Mechie and Jamison Williams both being hurt. And Alabama's offense has not looked the same ever since Jamison Williams got hurt in the SEC championship game against Georgia last year. Mm-hmm. They have not had that dynamic wide receiver take over and continue what Devontae Smith did the year before. So that at that point would be, how does Tennessee adjust? Can they just simply be better at winning one-on-one matchups up front to keep things closer with Georgia? I don't think they could, but I would like to see how different a Josh Heupel offense would look, knowing what they now know about how Georgia's going to match up with them.
Yeah.
And I do think we're going to see that rematch in the first round of the college football playoff.
I think so, too. I want to see the adjustments. Not necessarily, I don't even care on the neutral site, Will. I don't. I'd much rather just see what Tennessee does now with what they see. Okay, whether Georgia played harder, whether Georgia beat you in one-on-ones better. Like, there's a point in which, Lil bro decide, all right, I'm taking on big bro today. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's that aspect of this game in which, okay, Hypo didn't really say what the adjustments he would make in the press conference, because if you're smart, you break down everything you did in this tape.
Yeah.
The same way these opponents, South Carolina and Vandy and Missouri, is going to try to do it this week too. I don't care about the site, honestly, whether false starts or not. If it is back at Sanford, I say, what's the poise like? Because we can try to take away all the mess around everything that happened, false starts, and no. Now you saw it. I think Kirby Smart is a defensive guru when it came down. I think he put everybody else away from him and said, I got these tapes. I want to study Tennessee. And that looked like it to me.
What I think is interesting, too, because you mentioned recruiting, and I think it's opened up just a little bit more with Nick Saban opening the doors a little more, with Kirby doing what he's doing in Georgia, with Tennessee now having success. They were able to see that environment this year. And I was reading a board here about the recruits that attended that Georgia-Tennessee game, and it's really just incredible to read through all of their comments that they made about the game. But the one comment that is pretty much involved in every single player or recruit is the environment.
Yeah.
Every single commit talked about the environment.
Yeah.
And I think that just continues to be a thing with recruiting nowadays. These big games mean everything.
Yes, they do.
And so did that game, obviously, on last Saturday.
By the way, there was storm fielding this weekend, too.
There was.
It was. I just had to throw that out there real quick.
In South Bend and in Baton Rouge.
You mean field storming, right?
Storm fielding? Is that what you call it?
You called it storm fielding.
Did you? Oh, I thought you meant to.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I was quick to be petty, and I wasn't, concise in my words. It's all
Snap
good.
and clear, because the fourth quarter of the show is coming up next. We play our best ball in the fourth quarter.
We
anyway.
do, Will. We get better.
Do we?
Is that your voice or an automated one?
I don't know.
Coming up next, we'll see if Jonathan Schaefer decides to talk with his normal voice, and we hear from Ron Slay.
What happened back
In
there?
the fourth and
Man.
final hour of the show. When we come back, we see what Adam Schefter said, quoting Jim Irsay, Jerry Jones Irsay, about why he's glad Jeff Saturday doesn't have NFL experience. I'm glad, too, in Nashville, Tennessee. Fourth quarter next on 104.5 The Zone.
It is 9 o'clock. Good morning. I'm Jonathan Schaefer from the Superbook.com sports desk. A 3-5-1 record, a 3-game losing streak, significant quarterback issues. That was a recipe for disaster for the Indianapolis Colts as they fired head coach Frank Reich. In a stunning decision by team owner Jim Irsay, the Colts hired former All-Pro center Jeff Saturday to be the interim head coach. Saturday has no prior NFL coaching experience. Baltimore Ravens have won 3 in a row, defeated the New Orleans Saints 27-13 on Monday Night Football last night. College basketball men's action from yesterday. Number 11 Tennessee defeated Tennessee Tech 75-43. Memphis 76-67 over Vanderbilt. Belmont won on a buzzer beater from Cade Tyson. Three-pointer at the buzzer gave the Bruins a 70-69 win over Ohio. MTSU and TSU also victorious. Lady Vols in action today, a good one. Number 5 Tennessee at number 14 Ohio State. And the Predators in action on their West Coast trip. They are at Seattle taking on the Kraken. The opening faceoff set for 9 o'clock. The Preds have won 2 in a row. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once. On your home with the Titans and the Vols, this is 104.5 The Zone.
Fourth and final hour of the show, the fourth quarter of the Tuesday edition on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors, with Jonathan Schaefer, the best producer in the world, making the show happen behind the glass.
The best producer in the world!
That voice coming up in 15 minutes. One, Ron Slay, stopping by to talk Vols and to take his victory lap around the studio over the Indianapolis Colts hiring a guy that's never been a head coach other than in high school.
The Indianapolis Colts.
For the rest of this season in the year of our Lord 2022. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, Will Bowling with you on the phone lines at 615-737-1045, where Jim Irsay says, put your money down if you want to bet against this guy. I'd love to see it because I know what he's about.
F the Colts.
A guy who he said hasn't gone through the fear factor of being a head coach in the NFL. Well, why'd you hire the other dudes then? Come on, Irsay.
Jim Irsay saying yesterday he's glad that Jeff Saturday does not have head coaching experience and said this is for 8 games, hopefully more.
So you wonder how much of a plan this was and for how long. That's my whole question.
Sure.
Like, how long were you thinking after you let go of the offensive coordinator when you were planning on firing Frank and then bringing in Jeff? Like, how long of this planning had been going on?
You're right, because
it happened quick, by the way.
It did happen quick. So the OC got fired that didn't call plays. Then he released a quarterback and a running back coach or something like that too. It was like 2 other guys that got let go. And then Frank Reich got let go. And I'm thinking to myself, this is ownership getting into the way of what they think they know football is. Like, do you think Irsay knows how to break down cover 9, what zero coverage is, or what options routes are on
He knows if the roof's going to be open or closed.
Yeah, he does. And that's where we need to leave it right there. Management of his workers and not a football team.
Management of the roof.
Yeah, management of the roof.
Of which Ron Slay's car has none.
None.
Are we seeing a guy lose it a little bit? I'm not concerned because he's not my concern, but as a human being, I got to kind of say, dude, your pride is getting into the way and is really embarrassing at this point to me.
Wait a minute, a guy that's losing it, he hasn't had it.
Yeah, I don't know if he's had it for quite some time.
There we go. But this is like a public display of what not to do in business almost. You go get Jeff Saturday to be your head coach. You fire everybody. My biggest thing, and I said this to somebody yesterday, I hate it for the guys that's in the locker rooms that's got to go out and play. It's one thing to be playing for Lovey and Houston. They're just losing. because you know he's all in on what you guys have going on. Like Will said earlier, like some guys got to grow up, and I think that's what our Texans are right now. But you have a team in the Colts who have all-pro guys, Pro Bowl guys. I know they don't have a quarterback, but they're competing.
I know they don't have a quarterback. Understatement.
That's a big understatement. But those dudes still got to go out there and bash their heads up against other people while your owners on Twitter are playing around with the livelihoods of you. That sucks.
Jim Irsay yesterday in his press conference said a lot of crazy things. He compared Chris Ballard to Michael Jordan.
Oh, my God.
At one point. Which, those two guys are both males and live on Earth. Other than that,
They got bald heads?
Really know. Sure. I don't know. But my favorite quote from Jim Irsay yesterday: "We're the fourth winningest team since 2000. That means in the upper quartile of winners. We're in the top quartile of that upper quartile."
You remember in the movie The Campaign? You remember when he punched that baby in the jaw? That's what's necessary, okay?
It's a little violent.
Irsay, stop, man.
Forget them kids.
Accidentally punched Irsay in the jaw. Like, dude, are you losing your mind? Like right now, like I'm so disturbed by this, y'all.
Why is it that the AFC South just continues to have problems? Yeah. It's not necessarily just. It's not the players usually. It's everything above them.
Pretty simple.
Look at everybody, guys.
Bad ownership.
But it's happened almost now to every. I'm not going to say one thing. Let's just make sure Tennessee is in its own little cubby over there.
Well,
ignoring all that because
Amy Adams Strunk is in her own playing field category, whatever you want to call it, as the best and most stable owner in the AFC South, and it is not
even close, and has done everything in a positive way to put the organization in terms of bringing back alum, all of that stuff.
Yep. Herb last year, Shaq Khan making the hire that he did last year with Herb.
That's what I'm talking. Yeah.
That you have that
Houston.
Situation and that scandal. Houston.
Now that's kind of slowly
it's
starting
getting
to turn.
but they had to sell and burn down everything to get to this point.
I think you could make the argument that aside from Dan Snyder's situation in Washington, which appears to be resolved maybe the beginning of the end for him.
Yeah.
The three teams not named the Tennessee Titans in the AFC South have the three worst ownership situations not named the Washington Commanders in the NFL right now.
Yikes.
I'm thinking.
I mean, Broncos have new owners. I mean, it's.
I'm thinking.
It's hard to find three teams other than Washington that have worst ownership situations.
Miami had a little bit of a scandal.
Yeah, Miami. I would agree with Miami in the scandal that it had.
But affecting now.
Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Carolina is the correct answer.
But nobody's 3 out of 4 is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. There's no division with as much dysfunction at the ownership spot than the AFC South.
Do you think they set them at the back of the room at their own table? At the owners' meetings?
Amy's the only one that can sit up
front.
That's
what I was going to say. Amy's just detached from that.
And it's not just in contrast to them that Amy Adams Strunk is doing a good job as the Titans owner. Amy Adams Strunk is just among one of the best owners to me in the National Football League right now and what she's been able to do.
Yeah.
And the moves that they've made and the investment made in this team, it is directly correlated with the Titans taking the steps that they've taken, is her taking the next step in this franchise.
Yeah.
So as long as Chris Ballard is in Indianapolis, I don't worry about the Colts as a contender in the AFC. He will be the next guy to go. That's the question is Jim Irsay going to allow Chris Ballard to make the next hire? Or does he bring in a new GM? Because if I'm a candidate to be a general manager in this league and I'm potentially looking at the Indianapolis Colts as a destination, my question to Jim Irsay is, so am I going to be making the hire or you?
Yeah.
And the other question, what does Jeff Saturday have to do the rest of the way to earn that job? What's the record got to be? What's he got to? I really am curious. What are you looking for?
If I'm in that locker room right now, I'm probably just like, y'all, we are jokes. Like, it's hard to motivate at that point. And then if you come in and try to play hardball with us, like players at this point, like I know you play here, you're a legend. I think his name is in that Ring of Honor and everything else. You won a Super Bowl. But, Jeff, this ain't your style of ball. You can't tell me how to come in here and play physical right now. Like, not right now. You weren't on staff with us You don't know what we've been through just in totality. And I'm sorry, Jeff. I love you, but no, man. I can't do this with you. That would be my mindset. Like, I think this is the part in which, like, the ownership and players sometimes have that disconnect. Mm-hmm. Those types of owners is what I say. Yeah, those people. Those types of owners that think guys are just commodities that they just move around and they don't have a say-so over life and just everything else. Like, it's almost as if this is his baby, and it is. It's his baby, and he's just choosing to do what he wants to at the drop of a dime. Like, you lose stability, you lose just any cohesion that you've kind of had. To me, I think it's more fractured. And if I'm a Titans fan, I am like Dr. Evil, like Pinky in the corner of the mouth just laughing. Mm-hmm. Because they're years behind now at this point.
1 million losses.
1 million losses, yeah.
Let's go to Rob in Murfreesboro on the phone lines at 615-737-1045. What's going on, Rob?
What's up, Rob?
Oh, just a great ball day. I'm thinking Irsay actually has a plan here. Just hear me out on this. Now, how did they get good? They got Manning. How did they get Manning? They finished last. How did they stay good? They got Andrew Luck. How did they get Andrew Luck? They finished last. You bring in a coach that knows nothing, that's a guy that's loyal to you, and tell him lose all the games.
Yeah.
Here's the I'm gonna load you up with money, but don't win no games. Let's get the first pick.
I mean, it's a fair point. Thank you, Rob.
That's very condescending now.
I don't think that's in Jim Irsay's vocabulary, though, tanking. Because I think Jim Irsay in his own head feels like he's crushing it.
But, man, what are they getting? I mean, who are they getting at quarterback? For real, though.
That's this
No,
guy.
he knows it, but he won't admit it because he can't admit it that they're tanking.
I mean, I know that, but
Will say he's crushing it.
I legitimately think that Jim Irsay has convinced himself that he's like, no, this is the move. Like, I'm going to get a guy with Colts DNA back in here. I'm going to get an Indianapolis man back in here to fix this for us. I mean, the report from Adam Schefter is he tried to hire him as offensive line coach in 2019. Jeff Saturday turned him down. And he tried to hire him earlier this year, and he's been an advisor to Irsay. Like, I legitimately don't think Jim Irsay is this sounds really condescending. I don't think he's smart enough to think about, let's just tank for a quarterback. Like, I legitimately think he's
who are you going to go get?
At quarterback? I mean, he's stuck with Matt Ryan. That team is stuck with Matt Ryan.
He's smart enough to tank because he's done it once before.
Yeah. I know, but with the current quarterback situation that Indianapolis is in, they're more likely to get a second rounder to sit behind Matt Ryan, who they're stuck with for a couple more years.
They said they're moving on from him.
No, they did.
This year
What
they are.
is going on?
I mean, they're better off just paying Matt Ryan now and telling
So
him to
they're
go
going to come
home.
back to him next year. Hey, you couldn't finish out the year, but we're going to start you this year.
I mean, they might have to. Because if you want to know how you tank for a real number one overall pick quarterback, you keep Matt Ryan at quarterback next year. Like, I think that's completely on the table at this point.
But I think these quarterbacks coming out are so hit or miss, though. You got Chicago moving up for Justin Fields, and I know they didn't help him with surrounding him with talent, but is he a franchise-changing quarterback right now? No.
Well, there's no time they're giving these quarterbacks either.
This, to me, is just the old just saying. You know, we probably say it in Texas. We say it here in Tennessee. It's not what you know. It's who you know in this one.
That's it.
Right.
I get it. Everybody benefits from this in some capacity in life, right? But for Saturday to be in this position, unless he didn't want to hire an NFL coach to be your fall guy.
But there's interims you could have just advanced within
to
the
be
coaching
a fall
staff.
guy, though?
They're not going to probably stay around anyways if there's a new head coach eventually coming in.
You're right.
It's true.
You're right, Kayla. Yeah.
Before we go to break, I just saw I haven't laughed out loud at a tweet like this in a minute. Our friend Davey Shepard, or of my co-host of the Nashville Soccer Show, shout out,
great Davey,
retweeted this. It's this guy works in TV in Lexington. Jonathan Schaefer, I think, will love this. And this guy Sam on Twitter, Sam Porter, has a check mark. I guess he's going to pay $8 maybe in a couple weeks. Anyway, he said, got engaged yesterday. Texted my buddy, who is a football guy, to let him know the news. He reminded me that he is indeed a football guy. And the text is, me and Alice are now engaged. And the response is, ref's been calling all kind of BS just keeping KC in the game. And he responded and said, what does that have to do with me getting engaged? And the guy said, oh, I thought you meant like locked in on the game.
Oh, my God. That's funny.
And then he said, SMH, sorry, bro. Congrats. That's awesome.
We're sitting here going, where is this going?
I didn't have a clue.
That's really
Davey
good.
Shepard retweeted it and said, football guy.
Love that.
That's awesome.
I thought you were just engaged in on the game.
These days of engagement parties, he didn't get the invite. Heck, I'd ask the same question too then.
That's great.
All these reveals.
That is so great.
That's good.
When we come back, Ron Slay joins us. We'll get his thoughts on Frank Reich's exit in Indianapolis and Tennessee's weekend in Georgia. Ron Slay is eating his crow. He's continuing the same energy he had last week because that's what Ron Slay does.
Like a real one.
A Tennessee loss does not change the energy level of one Ron Slay walking into the building on Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning with us. He joins us next on 104.5 The Zone. It's Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors on 104.5 The Zone. Wherever Ron Slay may roam into here today. That didn't make any sense. Ron Slay roams into the studio in a minute with Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Jonathan Schaefer, our producer. We were talking about quoting Metallica, so I tried to think of something on the spot.
Wherever I may roam, is that what you're trying to do?
There we
Yeah.
Instead of enter Sandman, enter Slayman into the studio.
Okay, that's all right.
Speaking of the studio, it's like an ice box in here today.
It is a
So
little chilly.
if you see me over here, like trying to, if you're on the chat, if you're on the radio, I'm like bringing up my hoodie here as much as I can to cover up every part of me because it's so cold.
It is cold.
Get ready because Sunday's game against the Denver Broncos, it's going to be cold.
45 degrees.
Cold for here.
Is the weather forecast not tomorrow, Sunday
Yeah.
in Nissan Stadium. Rhett Bryan will have the latest on that coming up tomorrow on Scout Meeting Wednesday, getting ready for the Denver Broncos riding into Nashville. Broncos country.
Let's ride.
That's right. Ron Slay will join us coming up here in just a couple of minutes.
Speaking of which, Will, Kayla, is Russell Wilson still the draw? Like, are there people that's going to want to come to this game to see Russ also, or is like he's lost a little bit of that this year?
I think if anybody cares enough to go to the game, it's not because of him.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Brady coming to town or Mahomes.
No, I don't think it's to that level.
It's not. Okay.
I don't either.
Nah.
For sure. I was just wondering, there's a lot of people like, I got to go to this to see what Russ looks like in person. It's not going to be that this year.
I think you're interested to see in person how he looks, if he's done anything in terms of improvement, which I feel like there maybe is a little.
Yeah.
Not much, but he's not a name like that still. Yeah. Where you're just like, I got to go to see that guy. When Brady came here, when was that? I don't even know what year that was. I was so excited as just somebody who has always watched Brady and seen what he's done. I was so excited to see him in person.
Yeah.
Then he was like completely taken out of business by the time.
2018. 2018 was the year the Patriots last came here with Brady.
I think that was the moment Giselle went, I don't know if it's working out, Tom. Took a couple more years to manifest. But
They say they actually been apart for a couple years now.
Really?
Yeah, I read an article the other day said it's been it's been actually more before this moment. They've been like separately living for a while.
Okay.
Like a couple of years or so. It's like, yeesh. I guess they just made it work.
28. That was Mike Vrabel's first year when he beat Tom Brady that year in 2018.
That was fun.
And then the next year at training camp is when Tom brought the little trophy for him.
Huh?
The Titans worked out with the Patriots that year going into the 2019 season in training camp.
Okay.
And Tom Brady brought
brought the
a
trophy.
Little League football trophy.
Yep.
Taped over it that said, "You beat me in the regular season," basically.
Yeah. Those joint
They
practices.
literally brought it to him and presented it to him and patted him on the back and blessed his heart in front of both teams.
Those joint practices were some of the best
They
to
were.
cover those. And by the way, good point on here, Todd Apple on our zone chat. They're coming to see Ciara. They're coming to see anybody.
There we go. I figured it was something.
Ciara is the one who knocks in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
She is the one who wears the pants in that relationship, as she should. Okay. Am I wrong? Ciara is great. What do you want me to say? Okay, Jonathan Schaefer doesn't want me to say anything.
You say anything.
Well, yes, we will have Slay coming up with us in just a couple of minutes. If you missed any of the show earlier today, top 7 and bottom 3 in the National Football League, something that we were able to cover this morning. And the biggest fraud in college football, the Clemson Tigers, falling to Notre Dame. Tuesday has kind of become our college football day.
It has.
After a busy reaction Monday for the Titans yesterday, which I think people yesterday, Titans fans as well, were a bit more measured, certainly than they were post-game Sunday night.
Dude, Clemson, though, real quick.
Yeah.
Does this take away from Clemson? Or is it just bad quarterback play from Clemson? Because they've been on edge a lot this year when it comes down to their play, right? Who did they almost lose? I'm pulling up the schedule and results right now.
Clemson almost lost to Syracuse.
Syracuse, yes.
Which ended up not being as great as we
Not
thought.
at all.
Wake Forest, 51-45 to them.
Yep. That was the one that Aaron Judge Lukens were happening during that game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
During the 2-point conversion of that game.
34-28 to Florida State. Syracuse, 27-21, and then they dropped this from 35-14. So they've been on edge for a little while, I guess, as far as like what they are and then of course the back and forth with the quarterbacks, DJ
Klubnik and DJ Uiagalelei.
And Uiagalelei looked good at a point of the season where you thought it was going in the right direction, and then he got benched, and then he did play again, but it's just.
Do you ever have a good team when you're playing musical chairs with quarterbacks?
No.
Never the case, is it?
It's hard. It really is. And that team just hasn't been the same the past 2 seasons. DJ, you had those big expectations, and the 5-star resume that he had, it certainly hasn't lived up to that. Cade Klubnik still has a chance to. He is quite an impressive freshman. I know Jeremy Fowler of ESPN.com, friend of the show, a few weeks back said, talking to NFL scouts who have seen them practice, they are already wowing about how well Cade Klubnik throws the football.
Get out of here.
As a true freshman.
So, in the year that he's draft eligible, DJU, what does this do for his draft stock, man, in the world of
non-existent?
Yeah,
5 stars doing a cross-country trek to go to Clemson? Like,
you saw it with Spencer Rattler, too. The disappointment in a guy that was highly touted, couldn't get the job done, transferred, still hasn't being able to be that impressive with all of the noise coming out now about these quarterbacks living up to that hype.
No,
it's hard. It gets harder and harder.
And to me, like regional commitments like this, I know Tennessee got a guy coming from California that's committed to him in a sense, but like that's one thing I always kind of say. Like, if you don't pan out or your career don't go the way you want it to, like you put yourself in. What's DJ you gonna get out of Clemson? Like right now, he's on the back burner when it comes down to his expectations and whatnot. What's up, Savage?
And the crazy thing about that, talking about the California quarterbacks, was Jaden Daniels versus Bryce Young and LSU versus Alabama included 2 guys that played Pee Wee football against each other in California.
That's actually a great story.
It is.
I didn't know that they were that close until they kind of did all the pregame stuff.
Right.
That's the other thing we talk about still, what the SEC continues to do in teams or conferences over here is they steal all those quarterbacks from California.
Yeah, they do.
California, they can't keep, the Pac-12 can't keep any of those guys.
What teams do you have to stick with? It's 2 schools, really.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, for the most part, respectfully.
Audio adrenaline in the form of Ron Slay has walked into the studio.
What's happening, Cannon?
Good morning, Slay.
How you living?
I think you're talking through Ramon's mic. There you go.
Yeah, you're talking
What's
my
up?
mic right there. You keep your own mic.
Looking back at the best producer of the world.
Easy.
And accusatory
Easy,
game.
says.
Easy.
It's like what? It's like trying to search for Tiger Mike, right? Where you at, Tiger Mike?
Hey. What's up, Kayla? What's up, William Lee?
up?
What's happening? What's happening, good people?
We had a good time at Scoreboard Bar and Grill Saturday.
We did, man.
did.
Real
Good
cool
pregame
time.
show out there on Saturday morning.
Real cool time.
So I've seen some of your tweets. I've seen the interaction on 3HL of Georgia fans wanting to say, "Oh, Ron Slay was talking all that much last week."
Yeah.
And for some reason, they expect that you regret any of those things that you said.
You know what? My
I don't know
grandma
why they
told
would.
me a long time ago, man, if you just keep opening your mouth, you'll sound like a fool. So one of us sounding like a fool. You know what I mean? Either me or the Georgia fan. And I'm going to go with the Georgia fan because I've been doing this for a long time. And it ain't got nothing to do with no radio. I've been talking trash for a long time. You hear what I'm saying? So they can always expect the same thing. And now I'm going to stand 10 toes down. One thing I hate is when people back.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a 10 toes down guy. And if we do this game again, I'm going to say the same exact thing. Now, what I do respect and salute is, and give a tip of the cap, they showed us different levels to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're looking for the barometer, well, you know who's sitting up at the top.
It's Athens.
You know what I'm
Athens
saying?
is
Like,
the barometer.
this is the first game that I've ever seen this year with Tennessee walk away from the field, and I say, dang, they were more physical. I mean, from the trenches to the boundaries. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. It ain't no gray. It ain't no black. It is what it is. Like, it's one answer. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to see it last year when Tennessee, I got to call the game on Vol Network, Tennessee and LSU. LSU straight up punked Tennessee. Like, physically punked them.
In basketball.
You know what I'm saying? And I was like, yeah, I'm calling the game. And I'm saying the whole game, like, hey, man, Are y'all not watching the game that I'm watching? Like, they physically punking y'all, and they walking by the bench talking crazy, looking at the coaches and talking to them. I'm like, wow.
I remember you saying that, too. That's when you got back.
And Big Euros was the only ones that stepped up and said something back. And I'm looking at it. I'm looking at this Alabama game. I'm sorry. Georgia game. I'm looking at it the same way. Like, Ringo is, hey, man, I got Tillman.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is me. I got him.
Yep.
No. Move. Hey,
Yeah.
nope, no help. You can get out in the box safety. This me and him.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's different, man. Jalen Carter.
Yep. Spraggins had a day.
Game record.
Yep.
It was like watching 98 and Two-Tone Boo watching 88 and
no. Dog Walker.
Yeah, that's right.
Dog Walker. Put him on the leash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then unhook the leash and tell him, don't you move like my boy Jesus. Walk right beside me.
Yeah. So,
That's what I saw. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, woo. Now, this is different. Now, I do got to give a tip of the cap, too, to the Georgia fans.
Oh, yeah.
Now, that crowd was loud.
Through the TV, you could just tell how loud it was.
Through the TV. And that's where it goes. Like, it really does mean more because they've been hearing it. They've been hearing about this kneeling loud. You hear about Death Valley. No, Georgia's an easy place to play. And it is. I'm going to be honest. It is.
It has
Like,
been.
it doesn't scare anyone.
Mm-hmm.
They came with it. They came with it. Like,
It scares teams now.
man, when it is what it is, man, you got to tip your cap.
Kayla made a point that was Georgia's best played game.
Listen, I was listening to y'all earlier, and that's what I was going to say. First of all, I was going to say, why y'all keep calling the girl Ciara?
Yeah,
Sierra.
Sierra, yeah.
Sierra.
What you doing calling that girl Ciara, man? Like, what?
I knew I said it wrong, and I don't even know why. I've listened to her my whole life.
Guess
What in
what?
the
You done
world?
heard Missy Elliott and everything call her that. But
Oh, yeah.
I was just really, I'm good to him. You get a pass because I done heard your vocals and everything. I know that R&B soul down in your gut.
Thank you. It is.
Yeah, they hit her with the Tina Turner sang from here. I already heard it from Kayla, so that's what
hear
it
the
is.
slap
But
of these new
William
mics,
Lee,
man.
I'm like, what is William Lee talking about? But okay. But outside of
Thank
that,
you.
man, I was thinking the same thing, Kayla. I'm like, man, Georgia might, I don't know what they messed up on. Coaching wise, play wise, passing wise, blocking, physicality, mental standpoint, being there locked in for 60 minutes. I didn't see no lapses. That was a different type of game. And was it the magnitude of the game? Was it them waiting to prove a point all year? Tired of hearing about Oregon? Okay, this is the number one team. Well, let us show you what them. You can't play much better than that.
I think even Stetson Bennett said us being number 3 did kind of create a little poke.
It did?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have either if they didn't have, and I wouldn't have said this leading up to it, if they didn't have, because I thought you was already mentally locked in, you defend the champion, you got equity built up, this, that, and the other. That's what I was thinking. But
Okay.
you get tired of hearing Oregon. Like, we pounced them. That's the only competition you didn't had. Missouri played their best game. They didn't play their best game. You see what happened.
Yeah.
You saw what it looked like when they played their best game. They play that game against Missouri again at Missouri or anywhere they want to play them at, they beat them by 100.
Yeah.
Like 100. Like, for real. So, I'm with you on that, Kayla. It did something to them. It did something to them. The thing is, though, can you carry over?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I thought they got some get back from last year when they played Alabama in the SEC championship and it went down the way it did. I thought it was kind of like, oh, we can't wait to show everybody in they college football playoff first round, they handle business. Then they got to Alabama and they was hearing it again. It was like, okay,
Yeah.
we got something for you. So I thought this was the same kind of situation. But that was the culmination of the season. Like, that was the championship game. You didn't have nothing else to prove after that.
Yeah.
Now you got something else to prove going in college football playoff, and now everybody else can look at you like that.
Yeah.
So,
And Tennessee has the 3rd best playoff odds among anyone in college football, behind Georgia and Ohio State still. So there is still a pretty solid chance that it's Tennessee and Georgia in the 1-4 matchup in Atlanta in the semifinal of the college football playoff.
Vols fans got to buy that.
That would technically be a neutral environment,
Technically.
but whew,
But because there is no I guess Falcon season.
Tennessee fans would show up.
Yeah, okay, all right. That's all I needed to hear.
Tennessee fans,
we traveling.
that's the biggest.
100%.
That's the biggest alumni base for UT is in Atlanta.
Of course.
Of as far as like the alumni chapters in different cities, the massive group of Vols in Atlanta, just like there are a massive group of Dogs in Atlanta. But when we come back, I want to get Slay's thoughts on making up the talent gap on Georgia. in a potential rematch? Because Georgia made up the gap on Alabama in a rematch last year after losing 41-24 in the SEC championship game. Can Tennessee fix some of its mistakes in Ron Slay's eyes against Georgia, or is this simply a matter of a talent gap between one team with a bunch of 5 stars and one that is still a little bit ahead of schedule? We'll do that coming up next. We'll get Ron Slay's thoughts on Jeff Saturday becoming the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Coming up next, Ramon and Kayla and Will on 104.5 The Zone. That voice joined us for one more segment on Ramon, Kayla, and Will, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. Ron Slay stopping by.
What's happening? What's happening? Bang, bang, bang was back in effect too, Shafe, last night, man. Calling the TSU and Fisk game.
Oh, there you go.
Back off, yeah. So good environment over at the Gentry, man.
Play by play on them and everything.
Yeah, man, I'm just trying to get my feet wet, man. You know what I mean? Trying to get the Kayla status. Maybe one day I'll stand on the sideline or, you know what I mean? They have me following the team or something.
Man, you can be on the sideline whenever you want.
Just trying, Kayla. You know, I'm just trying. I'm trying.
It was a good day for pennies in basketball coaching circles in Nashville yesterday.
Yeah.
Penny Collins getting a win and Penny Hardaway getting the win over Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
In Memphis.
Yeah.
Like that, man.
So Tennessee against Georgia on Saturday exposed the talent gap between Georgia and really everyone else, not just Tennessee. In a potential rematch slate, does Tennessee have the guys to, in your opinion, match what Georgia did on Saturday and have a better shot without the pre-snap penalties and give them more of a game a second time around?
Yeah, I think so. And the reason I say that is because I think a lot of that was mentally. And I hate to say them not being prepared mentally because I know who they got behind them as far as Hypo being in that stage before, Rodney Gardner being there, Tim Banks, you know, like Martinez. These guys are Martinez. These guys have been on big stages before. Golish, all these guys, you know what I'm saying? This isn't a staff, a newcomer staff that hasn't been around the ranks before. And I think as far as the team, they haven't. So with them experiencing that stage and knowing what it's like to be able to go back to the film room and go back to practice and understand really this is why I'm telling you to pay attention to the details. This is why I'm telling you make this little move, trying to break away from the defender. It's so many details, small details that when you get to a different level that you got to go out there and make it happen. If you don't, then you'll see.
Can I say this too about this team though, this Vols team? The noise you've heard about this team is from me, from us, from the fans. Not once has this team jumped out and said, we're it. Yeah. We're the ones that not. You know what I'm saying?
It's true.
So as far as the humble aspect of it, I think it was a nice reset.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Some teams, like I guess you thought Bama was just like always, look at us. We're those guys.
Yeah.
Nobody can beat us. This Vols team hadn't murmured a single word about that aspect of approaching opponents.
Yeah, I think you spot on with that. And looking at it, if they were to get in that situation again, I think your approach is a little different throughout the game. You know what I'm saying? Like you saw it in flash. You saw the defense come out and get stops. Like Banks dropped the interception. Then they got the fumble. Like those are the plays that are momentum plays and game-changing moments. And you got those, but you just didn't capitalize on the offensive end. And that could have been a part of, we thinking we juggernauts, man, they can't stop us. Here we go, let's get to it. And, whoa.
Yeah.
The big dogs up front came to play. So, you know what I mean? You look at it different. Like, you knew what you were getting from Will Anderson. Like, you honestly haven't heard a lot about Georgia coming into this game. You know what I'm saying? So, maybe they thought they living on their laurels a little, resting on their laurels a little bit, and that wasn't the case. So, I mean, I think it is a battle next time. It ended up being a 14-point game, but I don't think the score is indicative of what really happened on the field. But when you look at it, you can say they can play with them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think the talent level is that far. I think the development of guys for Tennessee, once you get that class in, which I think is coming, but you got to think it's what, 19 months now?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So you still got to give it time. Kirby didn't have those guys when he first came in. You know what I mean? This is built up over time where he's able to plug and reset and keep going. So, my question is, though, if this last year was a rebuilding year for Alabama, then are we still rebuilding and losing? Or, because, I mean, like, LSU, you're going to have to deal with. Tennessee, you're going to have to deal with.
Yeah.
Georgia, you're going to have to deal with. Arkansas, at some level, you're going to have to deal with. You know what Pittman can bring there? A hell of a schedule coming out. But you expect Florida to be able to bounce back when Napier just recruiting in the state. Like, I mean, you got some people you got to deal with, and that's just speaking in the SEC. That ain't across the nation. You know what I'm saying?
There's cracks starting to show.
Yeah, that's interesting to see how they play it in the offseason.
How they spin the fact that they can find themselves as the victim despite having 2 top 5 picks in the NFL draft, Bryce Young and Will Anderson.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing, too. Like, what's always moved different about Alabama, you get guys that are that highly talented and being able to function as a team. You know what I'm saying? In a sense, it's kind of like what what Brady almost is going through as far as his drive to get better and win every single game at all costs, but his team is not cooperating with him. You know what I'm saying? Like, Bryce is talented as all get out. We know what it is. Will Anderson, the same. Best two players probably in college football.
Probably.
But as a team, and that's what Alabama has always been able to move as a team.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
seems a little more individual this year.
Yeah, you know, and it's like they want to carry. They never had to have one individual carry the load. You know what I mean? They always be like, golly, Will Anderson the best player, but look at such and such. Look at such. Look how they buy in. Like, you know, so
look at those receivers. What receivers?
Yeah, So it's different, man. It's different.
On the way out, Rod Slay, your thoughts on on the way in, sure. Okay. Jeff Saturday going from being a high school coach in Georgia to being the head coach of Matt Nathaniel Ryan.
It's. I mean, listen. The funny thing. The funny thing.
Say that one too. That was evil.
Right?
The funny thing is, though, like Jeff Saturday, I'm watching him every morning on Get Up and stuff. Like, when did we get to, like, is he even coaching his sons or Pee Wee or high school?
He's coached 3 years at a high school in Georgia as a football coach.
This choice is so inexplicable that Ron's stuttering.
Like, I ain't like, but then you got guys like Reggie Wayne that are there.
That's what I was saying this
Kevin
morning.
Mawai's there.
Hebron Christian Academy in Dracula, Georgia.
Listen, I'm lost. I'm lost on this. I don't know if this is a save the franchise, let's put somebody here, Philip style, you know what I mean, flagship station, flagship guy of the program type guy for Jeff Saturday to get moved into this spot, you know what I mean? And that ain't no shot of field because
nobody else is going to.
He was the only person up under the bottom of the Titanic plugging holes, you know what I'm saying? That thing was going down. But that's the same thing with Jeff Saturday. I'm like, where did this come from? I thought he was doing a great job on ESPN. What's going to happen to the pancakes? Like, who's going to smell the pancakes now? I'm lost.
I love that part.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what happens? Is Savage you going over there?
Real quick. Nathaniel ain't coming back to be quarterback.
I guess he's just Saturday pulling it. Hey, well, if I come, I'm getting Nathaniel back in the game. No, you ain't.
No, you not.
That's not what I brought you here for. I brought you to look pretty and stand up here with your hair flowing like that big
nice hair
and say what's right.
Mm-hmm.
You look really good in the suit now.
Real good.
Matter of fact, coach in the suit. like, what are you doing?
Well, unless
like Lombardi,
unless an NFL team hires Ramon Foster to be their interim head coach, he will be back with us tomorrow on Ramon, Kayla, and Will.
Man, that's crazy.
Thank you, Ron Slay.
Does Jeff Saturday wear a headset?
Oof. That's going to be weird looking.
What's he going to say?
Who we going to talk to?
What game plan does he know?
Just be that guy on the sideline standing.
You shouldn't call that play.
Yeah.
On the way out, we say goodbye. Buck Rising up next. The game plan for you from one Ramon Foster for the rest of your day.
Even you can be an NFL head coach. But remember, you can't get there if your Twitter fingers and your mic is always high. You hear me?